In the southern continent of Celts, the idle and peaceful port of Hamlet, an unearthly monster has broken the peace of these surroundings. According to legend, when the undead appeared in the world, they experienced disaster and death. Citizens are scared and even hide every time the undead is invading their town. There are a lot of guards ready to defend their borough and wanted to catch the undead to bring him to the city walls. Our story protagonist here is a cute small naive undead named Gray who tries to fit himself in a human world. At that moment, a purple cat spots Gray as he hides at the rear of the drum. When Gray turned back, the cat was yowling in terror, so Gray covered his mouth to prevent being caught. Gray is staring at the cat, and he recognizes it as a ghost that has possessed a cat. Don't be so surprised. There are many animals in this world that are possessed by ghosts. A skeleton frame like you strutting down the road is a real rarity. You're not out on the ground for the first time, are you? Said the cat, which causes Gray to be shocked by how the cat predicted it. The cat questioned why Gray was on the surface rather than remaining below ground in the abyss. Those who stay in the abyss must have a skill that will be valuable to them due to his vulnerability as a newborn undead. He allegedly feigned to be a skeleton specimen next to the powerful Lich Brutus in order to study magic. He never imagined that his plan would unintentionally work. For many years, the great sorcerer was unaware of his existence. However, one day, when a priceless magic item was going up for auction at the Abyss Gathering and the sorcerer wanted to attend, he came up with the idea to turn the specimen into a skeleton soldier to help him run errands. Gray didn't want to be a skeleton soldier, so he ran away and unintentionally knocked over the experimental equipment, making the Great Lich quite angry. While escaping, he stole a few treasures and fled to the ground out of fear after hearing the Great Lich threaten to teach him a lesson. After hearing it from Gray, the cat was frightened and lies that he needs to go and even tells Gray that they should pretend they never met because he was scared of the Great Lich. When he was about to leave, Gray pulled his tail, but the cat acted angrily because he don't want to be dragged. Gray wondered why he was targeted by a human when he did not interact with humans at all. You don't understand, you're an undead. Do you know what it means to be undead? The cat shouted. The undead is synonymous with calamity and death for humans, and according to the cat, people will hold the undead down as a source of disaster. Gray asked the cat why he's not been targeted by humans if he is also an undead creature. The cat explained that he possesses the perfect creature that combines good manners and elegance, so humans serve him well that even the girls use their chests to make pillows for him. According to him, he is the master of the human race. Gray feels sad as he doesn't understand what it means to be a perfect creature like the cat experienced. In the middle of their discussion, Gray saw someone coming from the gate. She's Iron Berbera, a lovely girl with white hair and blue eyes. Iron is a member of the royal family and she visited Port Hamlet. When she looks around, she thinks that this city is a bit strange because every house was closed. The guard of Port Hamlet apologizes and informed her that they are searching for the undead that has unfiltered the port. Iron was curious, but her guard interrupted her to say that they have some errands to do, so she decided to proceed with their destination. After seeing it, Gray wondered why those people were so respected, and the cat answered that they are knights, the embodiment of justice and light. The cat also explains that anytime a knight emerges, people will instinctively gather around them since they defend common people and offer peace and stability to people's lives. The cat advised him that he should go back to the underground because he has some place there to hide, but Gray refused to do so and he swore, "I, Gray the Lich, hereby swear that I will become a respectable knight." The cat was startled by what he heard, so he told Gray to repeat what he said, and Gray said the same thing. "You're a Lich who's afraid of humans and you want to be a knight. Do not get me involved if you are sick in the head," the cat stated angrily. When sundown, Gray and the cat are still together. Gray showed the cat a suit of armor, but the cat warned him that it is impossible for him to become a knight, even if he steals the equipment from the armory. Gray displayed a book named The Knight's Guide to Success, and he believed that by using it, he might become a knight without much difficulty. The cat was annoyed that he suddenly bite the book and ordered Gray to put him down. The cat said that relying on books of this nature won't help one become a knight and will therefore be useless. As Gray questioned why, the cat yelled that a horse is necessary to be a knight. Gray understands everything, so he employed magic to summon an awakened one. Gray concentrated and called the horse Great Tonitos, despite the cat being oblivious to what he was trying to achieve. The skeleton horse has come to life and is making a lot of noise as he tries to comprehend things. The army is already coming, so they need to hide. Count Caspar, the Lord of Port Hamlet, was present at the same moment at his castle. Iron Berbera, the Duchess of Becker, is arriving. As soon as she entered the castle, his uncle Caspar greeted her and Iron did so in return. "My son is lucky to have a wife like you," Caspar stated, which makes Iron wonder what he means. Caspar invited Iron to mainly arrange a marriage with his son. Iron feels annoyed and she says it's impossible. Instead of talking about the marriage, Iron asked for some thoughts on how Caspar can help her inherit the title of the Becker family. Caspar doesn't want to help her and he even includes Iron's brother in their conversation. Iron was mad because she believes his father never had a son. "Enough, Iron. The king has declared him to be what he is," Caspar stated angrily, and he advised Iron that she should only keep her mother's property and give up her Becker name in order to marry his son and that she shouldn't turn against it. According to Iron, Caspar swore to her father that he would continue to be devoted to her after her father passed away. And because of Caspar's attitude, she gets the handkerchief and throws it in front of Caspar to make a vow according to the age-old customs. In the city of Caspador, the guards are still searching for the undead, but Grey with the cat and horse is just hiding. The cat is annoyed and wanted Grey to let him go. "Aren't you going to help me become a knight?" Grey stated, since it is impossible for a Lich to be a knight. The cat furiously claimed that he never pledged to assist Grey in becoming a knight. Grey and the horse prepare a set of armor, and for Grey, it's not impossible for a Lich to become a knight because it's not mentioned in the book. The cat doesn't believe Grey and just wanted to possess another body, so Grey offered to turn him into an undead so he never feels tired after it. The cat was terrified and had no choice but to assist Grey in becoming a true knight. The guards had grown weary of searching for the undead and believed that the skeleton had already left town. While the guard was standing on the side, there was a knight and a horse walking through them. The cat, who is feeling uneasy, and instructs Grey to proceed straight ahead. The guard stops them only to let them know that the city is under a curfew due to the undead, so they should not roam around and hunt for a hotel to rest in, and the guards leave standing. Now that Grey and Tonitos have successfully disguised themselves in armor and utilized Grey's power to control it, Grey's next goal is to find a master who will turn him into a knight. The cat told him that they can't find a master because it was already dark and he should look during the day instead. Since this is Grey's first time as a knight, the cat told him that they'll go to the tavern where the knights were hanging out. In the middle of the night, Iron is thinking about what happened in the castle. The knight told him that she needs to rest as they have a duel tomorrow, but Iron keeps thinking and asked the knight Horus if her decision was too impulsive. Horus cannot figure out why Iron would agree to such a harsh condition, and Iron said that Caspar would only agree to such conditions. Horus was mad and informed Iron that they can escort her out of Port Hamlet. According to Iron, from the moment the king wanted to illegally seize the Becher family's territory, they had no choice but to ask Caspar's troops to support them. In addition, Horus stated that Caspar had ordered a turn-based conflict between their knights and Caspar's knights, and they only brought 20 knights, so there was no way they can win by fighting in numbers. Iron ordered to hire the people in a renowned mercenary group near Port Hamlet. They might succeed if they adopt effective strategies and leverage their advantages to attack their weaknesses. "All you need to do is trust the Lord you have chosen," Iron said while she swore in the name of Becher. Going back to Grey and his two companions, they now arrive at the tavern. A cat told him to order a glass of wine and a fish because he was starving and needed to be fed. The attendant welcomed them after they had already entered. Some individuals were curious about him and wanted to include him in their gang, but their boss named Paws won't let them unless Grey can convince him of his value. Grey was thrilled for hearing the attendant calling him Mr. Knight. The cat asked if Grey have some money, but Grey answered that he only has one from the Great Lich's treasure house. The cat was disappointed after hearing it, so Grey suggests that they can get money in front of them by gambling. Grey really sat down at the table and has been winning a series of games in a row, so the cat advised him to lose a few games because people were gossiping about his consistently undefeated, and Grey wondered why. Suddenly, there's a man who challenges him to play a few games with him alone, and it should be 10 silver coins at a time. After hearing it, the cat told him to not accept the challenge to avoid big trouble with the people. Grey was hard-headed and did not listen to the cat because he was confident that he won't lose the game. After the gambling ends, Grey made a lot of money. In the world of liches and ghosts, the probability is foundational knowledge, so he thinks that those people were too mindless. The cat explained that in the human world, it's not good to win all the time, and the cat was right. When they're about to leave, those gamblers block them and they think that Grey has cheated, so they ordered Grey to leave all his earnings or he will be beaten by these men. "See, this is what happens when you cheat," the cat proclaimed. Grey is a different person now and he believes Tonitos can help him with this fight. The cat doesn't trust Tonitos because he always feels like Tonitos will fall apart after 2 steps. "Don't worry, "Leave it to me and Tanitos," Gray stated. Some men were about to retreat because they noticed that Gray is a knight, but their boss ordered them to pull Gray onto his horse. There are several opponents in front of him holding different weapons. Gray and Tanitos prepared themselves to attack. With the help of Tanitos, he strongly kicks these men, causing them to spew blood. Tanitos jumped and hit the other men left one by one. They were thrilled to assault these people, and in the end, all of them were passed out. There is a crowd watching them, and they said that gamblers have met their match this time. Paws is also watching the fight and were puzzled by how Gray fights with the gamblers. The cat was astonished at this point because Gray is a skilled fighter and has covertly given Tanitos several layers of enhancing magic. The following day, word spread that the Lord of Caspador would be facing off against a well-known figure from another country. Paws informed him that there was a tournament and that someone had paid a lot of money to employ participants while Gray and Paws were both present. Paws thinks that with Gray's skills, he can win this kind of competition with ease. According to Paws, if a person is not a knight, they cannot compete in this type of tournament. Thus Iron gave them the temporary title of knight. Gray wondered why it had to be a short-term solution. He aspires to have the title of a true knight, the one with the seal. On that day, Casper said to Iron that he was concerned about the reputation of the Betra family. Iron is talking to Casper without calling him uncle, so Casper said that she was rude, but Iron doesn't care as she only wants to win. And if it happens, she hopes that His Excellency the Count will also not go back on it. This tournament will consist of infantry and cavalry battles, and it will be fought in a turn-based format. Each side will send a knight to the battlefield, and the participant will be eliminated if he loses or surrenders. The winner must accept the challenge of the opposing knight. However, he will have the right to decide whether the next round will be a horse or foot battle. This will be repeated until all the knights on one side are eliminated and the winner is determined. If Count Casper loses, he must swear allegiance to Lady Iron, and if Lady Iron loses, she must accept the engagement of the Count's son and be married at a later date. The battle is about to begin and the host welcomed the knights on each side. There is a lot of Count Casper's guard knight while the attendant knights of Iron are only a few. People started to gossip and even bet that Iron will lose this battle. Casper laughed after seeing the few knights of Iron, and for him, it was a sign of her stupidity. Iron hired mercenaries and they are all waiting outside the arena. The tournament begins and the fight is started. All these knights protect themselves with their shields while trying to use their lance against each opponent. In Game 1, Iron wins and Casper loses 1. The Iron Knights maintain their lead in the second round and triumphed, handing Casper yet another defeat. In the third round, Casper wins and Iron loses 1. Since Iron's unit is currently outnumbered, she gave Horus the order to go gather the mercenaries. Horus asked if Iron intended to use the mercenaries to wear out Casper's troops, and Iron replied that because their manpower is limited, they must be placed wisely to counter the Count's troops' superior strength. Outside the tournament, mercenaries have been called and Gray is also there. Horus told them that the match is of the utmost importance to House Becher, so they should help win the battle. Although they promised to try their best, mercenaries said they could not guarantee the outcome. Suddenly Gray is raising his hand and asks Horus to make him a knight. Hasn't the lady already granted you the title of a knight? Horus questioned. Gray insisted that he don't want a temporary title, he wanted to be a real knight with a seal. Horus was irritated because he believed Gray to be feeling ambitious. But Iron cut him off and told Gray that the title of the knight cannot be earned by merit and it cannot be awarded arbitrarily. Sir, if you can defeat 50 men for me in the tournament, I will give you the title of knight. Only if you can, Iron said. Gray and the cat were both surprised, and the cat even concludes that Iron is asking too much, so he told Gray to refuse, but unfortunately, Gray accepts the challenge. Well then, I'll be waiting to see you in action, Iron said and walk away with Horus. Gray was scolded by the cat for accepting Iron's offer, but Gray was overconfident that 50 people was a small number and that Tanitos could kick hundreds of them. To force Tanitos into the arena, Gray needs to defeat the knights in a foot war. Only the winner has the right to change the fighting method. Iron goes back to the tournament and Caspar didn't expect her to rely on the Red Scorpion mercenaries. No wonder the Becher family is on the decline. Caspar said, and Iron answered, you have to wait a little longer to find out if it's on the decline. Pass has been called to the ring and for him, it appears like the good days are over, so he needs to take the fight a little more seriously. Caspar was astounded to witness a skillful individual engaged in combat with his troop. Pass is engaging calmly with his sword, attacking Count's troop, and finally, he knocked down his opponent and the crowd was cheering and asks for another battle. Kaspar wondered how Pass won 5 games in a row, and his subordinate answered that Pass is the leader of the Red Scorpion mercenaries, since Kaspar started to be irate. He ordered his man to put his skilled troop to fight against Pass as a consequence of going against him, while the audience is cheering and predicting Pass's battles. Count is sending a new knight, and all of the people were shocked because it's a giant troop in front of Pass. Iron and Horus were puzzled after seeing it. "Buddy, let's have some fight," the giant stated with an evil look. Because of how big he is, Pass started to think to withdraw from the battle. Meanwhile, on Gray's side, he was trained by the cat on how to use the swords, but Gray can't even hold it, so the cat told him to give up. The battle of Pass versus Count's troops is about to begin. People gossip about the giant troop like a monster, and even the crowd feels scared. It's the knight's duel between Count Kaspar and Lady Iron's 12th match begin. The giant troop was very determined to hit Pass using his giant mace, and good thing that Pass was able to dodge it. He attacks using his sword, but his sword has been broken. The giant laughed at him, and Pass started to rattle because he don't have any other weapon to use. The only thing he can do now is to dodge, but because of the strength of the giant troop, he was still hit and thrown to the corner with blood on his body. People were worried, while Kaspar is happy seeing Pass suffering in pain. "This is what happens when you go against me," Kaspar stated. Pass still manages to get up even though he feels like his ribs have been fractured. The giant troop was still in front of him and was about to hit him once more, but he began to have a serious look and jumped through the giant holding his broken sword and hitting the giant in the eyes. The giant is screaming in agony and can't see anything, and at this moment, Pass seizes the chance and run towards the giant to stab him. The giant was very mad, but he cannot do anything, and at this point, he was knocked out by Pass. Since Pass spitting blood, Iron decided to replace him. On the other hand, Gray is busy making a weapon since he can't use a sword. The cat reminded him to hurry before the tournament will end. The fight between Iron and Count Kaspar went on until midnight. By now, Iron had suffered heavy losses, with 4 executed, 7 seriously wounded, and several surrendered, leaving only 6 able to fight. Although Count Kaspar's side was not as strong as Iron's side, they relied on their numbers to suppress the other party and still had a total of 61 people left. Pass is on the roof watching the battle and thinking how brave Iron's knight is. But their chance is too little at this moment since they only have 6 troops left. While he was thinking, Horus called him and was annoyed because half of Pass's mercenaries surrendered after half of the fight. "We're paid to fight for you. We never said we'd sell our lives," Pass answered. Horus can't do anything but calm himself and asked for Gray, but Pass doesn't know where he is, and he just answered that Gray must feed his cat. At this time, Count Kaspar's team wins again, and there are only 5 people left on Lady Iron's side. Horus decided to fight against Count's troops, and when he was about to walk in the middle, he heard a sound behind him. When he turned around, he saw a gigantic gate carried by Gray. People were shocked and doesn't have any idea what was going on. Gray continued to carry the gigantic gate and asked how many people were left on Count Kaspar's side. Count Kaspar and Lady Iron were both perplexed, and Iron trusts Gray this time. "Hey uncle, what about Count Kaspar's side?" Gray asked Horus, so heroes informed him that Kaspar has over 50 knights left, so he can now go and fight. Gray was happy and now ready to go straight to the ring with his gigantic gate, and when he put the gate in front of the opponent, it seems like it has a big explosion and the opponent flew away. Carrie climbed up to the top of the gigantic gate and stand straight while saying, "I'm ready. Let's start the match." The opponent remained speechless and immediately kneeled to surrender in front of Gray. For the next match, Count's troops still surrendered and were afraid that they might be beaten left, right, and center because of Gray. All of Count Kaspar's troops don't want to fight against him. Count Kaspar interrupted and said, "How dare you demolish the gate of the Count's palace and use it as a weapon? What a shame, I won't tolerate this ever." All the people also noticed that it was the gate of the Count's palace. Kaspar is now trembling in anger, and his subordinate informed him that his knights would rather give up their titles than go to fight, so he suggests changing the cavalry fight. Kaspar agreed to it as this is the only chance they have to win the tournament. Gray is very bored at this time because no one wants to fight with him. Kaspar called him and said that he wants to see Gray's skills in cavalry. Gray was puzzled, and Kaspar is interrupted by Iron, who points out that according to the tournament's regulations, the winner gets to choose how the following match will be played. Kaspar warned her that if she refused to participate in the horse battle, his men would not fight and the competition would continue without them. Iron is now frightened as she couldn't do anything. "Brave knight, are you willing to accept the request for a horse battle?" Caspar asked and Grey told him that he will accept the horse battle if Caspar will send out all of his knights at once to fight with him. After hearing from Grey, Iron was surprised. Caspar asked if Grey means that all of the rest of his men will fight together and Grey confirmed it. If these guys stop coming out halfway through the fight, he won't have 50 people defeated. Horus shouted to warn him but Caspar accepted the deal. At the moment, Horus doesn't trust Grey and wanted to stop the match. Iron called Grey by his name and said, "Are you making such a request with full confidence?" And Grey replied, "Exactly, I will bring your victory." Because of Grey's statement, Iron let him show Grey's bravery and trust him wholeheartedly. Grey jumped from the top of the gate and Tanitos with the cat on the roof went towards Grey and he successfully rides to Tanitos. Caspar immediately ordered to get all of his knights on the stage and his subordinate followed his order and told all the knights to prepare for the battle. Several knights with their horses are coming and getting in their formation in front of Grey. As there is just one opponent on the opposing side, the Count's warriors are certain that they will win the tournament. They started to attack Grey, but Tanitos used his head to stop them. Grey pulled a sword, but the adversary is unaware that he doesn't have the skill to use it. So he attacked Grey with all of his strength, and Grey just parried the blow, which makes the opponent to be annoyed. Grey trusts Tanitos to take care of all these troops with just one hoof. At this moment, the horsemen are now pissed off and Tanitos asked what they will do. Since swords don't work, let's use the old method of lick. Grey stated and used his magic, a colossal magic quadruple. Tanitos feels more strong because of Grey's magic. The troops are rushing towards them while Tanitos is running with unbelievable speed. Count's knight was executed one by one and no one can stop Grey. They now thought that Grey is very skillful at riding horses, so their plan is to stab Tanitos, but because of magic, the sword can't hit Tanitos. While almost all of the opponents were knocked down, Grey, Tanitos, and the cat were happily fighting against them. The opponent was scared of Grey and they thought that he was not a human but a monster. Caspar was surprised to see his troops all knocked out and he even thought that Grey is cheating. Horus was glad to see Grey successfully win the battle and Iron gives back to Grey his sword. Grey reminded her that he already defeated 50 people in the tournament as promised, so he should be granted the title of knight. "Of course, I will fulfill my promise and grant you the title of a knight with a seal." Hirun declared, in the spring of the 10,753 Holy Calendar, in the territory of the Kingdom of Isaac at the southern end of the continent Celts, a great knight was born who is going to change the whole world in the future. Some people left the scene in anger because of this. Some people are cheering for him and Grey himself has no idea about it but was happy experiencing this kind of fulfillment. The next day, Grey is throwing away gold coins and gems in the castle and many people give thanks for his kindness. The cat asked what is he doing and Grey answers, "Distributing the treasure I found to the poor." Last night, Iron bestow upon Grey the title of the Knight of the Silver Moon. She hopes that Grey will walk alongside her in the future. "I will fight for you to my death," Grey answered. Iron prepared a room for Grey and the cat now believes that the Lich has actually become a knight. Upon realizing it, Grey was very happy and walked around the room because of his excitement. Afterward, he decided to read the book to learn something about being a knight. The cat was about to sleep but Grey won't allow him as he still needs advice. Upon reading the book, it says that the knight always gives treasure to the poor, so Grey asked the cat where to find the treasure and who are the poor. The cat answered, "Compared to Count Caspar, everyone in Port Hamlet is poor. For the treasure, this castle is full of it, so feel free to find it yourself." After that the cat fell asleep. That's why this day, Grey robbed Count Caspar's castle and give it all to the poor. On the other side, in the temporary office of Iron, Abby Robert and Horus entered her room to ask if she really going to trust Grey. "You must have witnessed his bravery. And I need his strength," Iron answered. Robert insisted that Grey is not trusted since they did not know his past and didn't even bother to take off his helmet at the pledging ceremony. But still, Iron is very confident about Grey and told Robert to not talk about Grey in the future. In just a minute, one knight came to Iron's room and delivered the news that the Silver Moon Knight, which is Grey, has robbed Count Caspar's treasury and thrown it from the castle tower. After hearing the news, Iron, Horus and Robert were shocked and disappointed by what Grey did. Iron never considered herself a competent lord. She was trained by her father and was told that if she fall easily, there was no way she can become the next Grand Duke of the Batcher family. However, there was one quality that Iron hadn't noticed, and that is she's very good at putting on an act. While Iron is en route to Grey, Caspar was already in the castle tower, standing in front of Grey, reprimanding him for plundering the castle's treasure. Gray told Caspar that he was giving the wealth he found to the poor as every knight does, but Caspar was very mad because it was his own treasure and he called Gray a despicable thief, since Gray is a naive lich. He wasn't aware that this treasure belongs to an owner, and he even told Caspar that he doesn't know since there is no written name on it. Iron and his knights heard Caspar scolding Gray, so Robert told her that they better stop Gray before the issue gets too big. In addition to putting on a show, Iron has another trait that is essential to being a lord. That is an incredibly keen insight into an opportune moment. Caspar ordered Gray to call his master, but Iron was already behind him and said, "What a surprise. Uncle Caspar has requested to see me." Iron believes that Caspar is avoiding her because he didn't want to fulfill his vow. Gray immediately greeted his master as well as Iron to him. Iron goes near Caspar and whispers that if he refuses to fulfill his vow, she has the right to deprive him of his title immediately. Caspar feels shocked and thought that Iron is the one who deliberately sent Gray to attack his treasure, but Iron told him that she didn't anything about it but is willing to compensate for the damage that Gray caused. "After all, I am not like a certain person. I am very credible," Iron stated, which caused Caspar to be annoyed and threw the charter before leaving the tower. Gray asked Iron if he did something wrong and Iron told him that he has done very well. Iron was grateful that Caspar had forgotten that she had no right to deprive him of his title before becoming Grand Duchess. And he was grateful for the pressure Gray put on Caspar at this point. She also educates Gray that robbing other people of their wealth is wrong and that if it ever happens again, his pay will be withheld in retaliation. Since Iron got the charter, they don't need to stay in Port Hamlet, so she told Gray to pack up his things as they need to go to White City by tomorrow. The cat is speechless and thinks that only such an unreliable master accepts a lunatic knight as Gray, but he was happy to see Gray slowly achieve his dream. The following day, as Iron and Gray prepared to depart from Port Hamlet, regular soldiers appeared in front of them. When Gray questioned why there are so many knights present but they did not participate in the tournament, the cat responded that they were just normal soldiers and only knights were permitted to participate in the battle. The cat noticed that there is another group of thousands of people that Caspar got by contact, so he senses that horrible things are about to happen. When night comes, one soldier looks for Gray, and when Gray appears, the soldier informed him that Horus ordered him to visit Lady Iron's tent. Iron ordered Horus with all the troops to use the charter as an opportunity for them to force more lords to join their camp, and he needs Horus to spread the word as he is the only reliable person for Iron. Horus won't accept her order because he's afraid that only Gray is left on her side. "If Gray has second thoughts about me, do you have the power to stop him?" Iron stated, which makes Horus and Robert remain speechless. Gray arrives at Iron's tent, and when he entered, these two men were staring at him, so Gray immediately asked if what's wrong. Horus suddenly held his arm and said, "I'm counting on you for the safety of Lady Gray." After saying that, Horus and Abby Robert left the camp, but Gray doesn't know precisely what mean to say, so he decided to ask Iron, but he doesn't know what to say. Iron feels that Gray is nervous, but Gray told her that he was not nervous, he just doesn't know what to do. "To put it simply, you just have to stand there and knock down anyone who tried to attack me," Iron said, and because of that Gray understand everything. Iron feels odd since Gray refused to take off his helmet and didn't know the knight's oath. She started to think that Gray is not a human. "What are you talking about?" "Of course, I'm a knight born and raised in this country," Gray said while his eyes are flickering drastically. They are both talking in the tent about Gray's identity while the cat is listening to them, and he suddenly noticed someone from above. Iron informed Gray that she was not doubting. "From the moment you pledged your allegiance to me, you have been my knight. I will pay for who you are and make sure you don't get abused for it all," Iron said, causing Gray to shed tears because of happiness, and he promised Iron that he will be loyal no matter what. After that, Iron said to Gray that he should be ready since it was almost time to welcome the guests. Gray was puzzled, and suddenly, someone entered and tore Iron's tent. The Ravens are a group of assassins based in the southern part of the Kingdom of Isaac. As long as they're willing to pay, they will execute anyone right from the royalty down to the old and weak. Among the Ravens, an assassin named Spectre is the most fearsome. Other assassins take money for their work, but Spectre is a monster assassinated for fun. Now, his target is the woman with white hair and blue eyes, which is Iron Berbera. Gray immediately throws the sword at Spectre because he remembered that Iron told him he needs to knock down anyone who tries to attack the young lady. After seeing it, Iron told Gray that swords are not supposed to be thrown. Gray covers Iron and he believes that Spectre has an assassination intent comparable to the Great Lich. Spectre attacked Gray with fast speed and he thought that he has been cut Gray into pieces. When he pulled his sword, he then saw that it has been broken. Gray teased him as he thought that Gray will be over. Gray slaps Spectre and throws at the corner. While they are fighting, Iron doesn't know what was going on. What she saw as Spectre was the one who broke his own sword in the first move and proudly swung the broken blade a dozen times and also thought that Gray didn't notice it. She thinks that both of them have gone crazy, since she doesn't understand what was going on with both Spectre and Gray. She just ordered Gray to throw Spectre outside the tent. Gray suddenly asked Iron if she already know that this assassin is coming. Iron answered that they usually come to her once every 3 days and they might come many times now that Horus and others are not with her. Gray then realizes that it's more worse than the times he was being hunted in the underground, while Gray throws the assassin outside the tent. He told Iron that he didn't know the situation of Iron and only knew that Iron can make him a knight. Iron explained everything to Gray. She said it was all about money and power or simply because many people wanted her to disappear from this world. It all began without any complications. 2 months ago, the Grand Duke of the Becher house passed away unexpectedly. After his death, the Grand Duke, in his will specified that his only daughter Iron would inherit his title and property. But at that moment, an illegitimate son named Jones suddenly appeared. Although the Grand Duke has an illegitimate son, according to the law, an illegitimate son had no right to inheritance. The problem was that the illegitimate son was brought out by the king. The king had the right to grant the illegitimate son the legal right of succession. And because the illegitimate son was a boy, even with the will of the Grand Duke, he was entitled to the inheritance instead of Iron. This was an obvious conspiracy. The king wanted to take over the Becher family's territory in a bloodless manner. Some of the people feared the king's authority and therefore did not dare to help even though they knew the truth. Others, seeing the benefits, tried to help the feudal lords to take advantage of the situation. In short, from the day she lost her father, there were many people who wanted the 16-year-old girl to disappear as soon as possible. So, assassination became a common affair for her. The next day, Lady Iron together with Gray returned to the capital of the Duchy of Becher, the White City. Someone ordered the guards to welcome Iron and open the gate. She's Shelley, a young lady with blonde hair and blue eyes, and was happy seeing Iron return safely. Shelley also heard that Iron met a very brave knight during her trip to Port Hamlet. When they entered the town, people gossip after seeing the legendary Silver Moon Knight, which is Gray. The cat asked Gray if he understood what Lady Iron told him, but Gray didn't understand any of it. The only thing he knows is he must defeat the king, or else he will lose the knighthood he earned. When Gray looked around, he was happy after seeing the people cheering for him. He started to like the place because it's very lively and he feels the feeling of being alive. Iron acknowledges what Gray said and agreed that a white city is a lively place, that's why she has to guard this place to keep it alive. Iron offers Gray that she will prepare new armor for Gray and Tonito, so she asked Gray if he had any specific requirements for it. According to Iron, Gray is now considered an important member of the Becher family, so his attire should be dignified. Aside from that, Iron informed Gray of one more thing. Once they settled in, she will invite all the nobles of the city to a ball to let them know that she returned alive with her troops and horses. Therefore, Gray should attend the ball with Iron since Gray is her guardian knight. Iron told him to be prepared and Gray was puzzled because it was his first time. While they are discussing, Gray was not aware that someone spotted him from above and knew that he was a Lich. Her name is Catherine, an angel with white hair and blue eyes. In accordance with the Greystone Agreement, they sign with the Liches before it mutilates humans. They should observe the situation and refrain from taking action against it. When the night comes, Gray is observing with his new armor and he was very glad and thankful for Iron for being a superb lord. The cat reminded Gray about the ball, but Gray doesn't know anything about it, so the cat told him that it was a party where everyone got together and dance. And what is dancing? Gray questioned. The cat showed him a sample of dance and Gray followed his steps. He then concludes that it was like some kind of mystical ritual. While they are practicing, someone knocked on the door, so Gray immediately wears his armor and opens the door. The maid introduced herself to Gray and informed him that Lady Iron is waiting for him. The maid guides his way to the lady, and when they arrived, Gray was surprised by Iron's look, but because of the jewels, he imagines himself wearing it since it has a gorgeous fabric. Lady Iron asked Gray if he was ready and Gray confidently answered yes. Iron extended her hand to Gray and told him they'll go downstairs, but Gray was puzzled and wondered why Iron isn't leaving yet if she said that they need to go downstairs. The cat hit him in the head and informed him that Iron wanted him to help her go. Why do I need to hold her? Has she fractured her ankle? Gray asked the cat, but the cat told him to stop asking and just held Iron's hand. Gray immediately held Iron's hand, and when they both walking, Gray suddenly said, "My lady, your gown looks great today. Can I wear it?" Iron wasn't sure of what she heard, so she told Gray to repeat what he said, but Gray said the same thing. "But you're a man, right?" Iron asked, but Gray wasn't sure what man is. The cat scolded him for being ignorant that might reveal his identity and expose him to the people. After hearing it, Gray took back what he said and told Iron to forget about it. Iron realizes that since Gray doesn't want to take off his helmet, refuses to take off the armor, doesn't want to mention his past life, and likes pretty dresses, she then concludes that this knight in front of him is not Gray but Grace. Iron forgets about it and continues to face the crowd. People greeted them and were curious after seeing Gray with a cat sitting on his shoulder. As the 13th heir of the Becher family, Iron welcomed all the people who attended the ball and told them to enjoy themselves this evening. "I look forward to our families remaining as close to each other as they have been in the past to maintain good relation, at the same time. Also hope to use this opportunity today to resolve the previous disagreements among us in one stroke," Iron stated, and drink the wine in front of everyone. Shelley concludes that Iron is targeting her grandpa named Gregory. Gray noticed Gregory and Iron told him that Lord Gregory is the third of Atwood. He is from a famous family with a long history of wealth and a great military force. He is also a prime candidate to win battles against the king. Iron also informed Gray that Gregory declined her request, but since Gregory is present at the ball, she believes that there's still a chance for her. She immediately walked towards Gregory and greeted her uncle, and Gregory did the same and invited her to have a dance. Gray was about to go with Iron, but Shelley interrupted him and said that he can't follow Iron on the dance floor. Shelley concludes that Gray wanted to dance, so she invites Gray to dance with her instead of waiting for Iron. Gray was puzzled once again after seeing Shelley extend her hand, and he thought that Shelley might also have a fractured ankle. The cat informed him that she has no fractured ankle, but for the sake of the Great Lord he asked Gray to keep his distance from Shelley. Gray followed what he said and moved away from Shelley, so Shelley wondered what he was doing. The cat shouted and told Gray that he was not talking about physical distance. Shelley suddenly cries because she feels that she was humiliated since the cat believed that this woman is an expert. He told Gray to stop her from acting up to avoid being in trouble. Gray has no idea what he should do, so the cat told him to tell Shelley that she's the most beautiful woman in the world. Gray doesn't want to lie because Iron is the most beautiful woman for him, but the cat forced him to do so. Gray followed the cat and kneeled in front of Shelley. Shelley was thrilled after hearing it from Gray, and she immediately invites Gray to dance with her. Gray said, "I'd be honored." Shelley was happy dancing with Gray, and her real plan is to see what Gray really looked like under his helmet, while they are dancing. Shelley complains because Gray doesn't know how to dance and always steps Shelley's feet. Gray apologized to Shelley and informed her that this is his first time. "It's okay. It's actually my first time too, dancing with a man in armor, and he is stepping on me like crazy," Shelley stated, since both of them are not good at dancing. Shelley told him that Gray should lead since he's a man. Gray wondered again and doesn't know if he was really a man, but he just enjoyed dancing together with Shelley. Iron and Gregory are looking at them, and Gregory wondered why Gray's still wearing armor at the ball. Iron informed him that it was Gray's habit, and she also opened up about her request previously and asked Gregory to reconsider it carefully. Gregory told her that he don't refute the talent she had shown as a lord in the past 2 months. "You are very good. But that is not nearly enough," Gregory said. He also informed Iron that Gregory's motto is only to support those who are destined to win, and it's the reason why he survived for 1,000 years. Going back to Shelley and Gray, Shelley invited Gray to go outside the hall and join her for a walk. While they are outside, Shelley removes her sandals and said that she can't be able to go back to dance with a swollen foot. Gray apologized again, and Shelley asked him to look for some medicine and apply it to her feet. Upon hearing it, the cat believes that Shelley is flirting and wants to make love with Gray to reproduce, and completely trapped. Gray doesn't understand what the cat said, and what he only knew is he needs to help Shelley heal her foot, so he immediately kneeled in front of Shelley and implies holy healing. Shelley witnessed how Gray used magic to heal her foot. Suddenly, there's a young man named Matthew who saw Gray hold Shelley's foot, and he was mad at Gray for holding a lady's foot with his hand. He stated that all the knights from the Becher family are shameless, and he immediately challenges Gray to a duel. Gray accepts his challenge without any hesitation, but the cat was annoyed and reminded Gray that this man in front of them is the one Lady Iron trying to win over, and they'll have a political problem if Gray fights someone over. The cat thought that Shelley will testify, so he ordered Gray to explain everything to Matthew, but suddenly, Shelley expresses her feeling for being happy that there are two men going to fight for her. From above, Angel Catherine still followed Grey and she believes that Grey is an undead that can use divine magic. Inside the ball, Iron heard noise from the outside and her guard told her that the Silver Moon Knight have insulted Lady Shelley of the Gregory family. Iron thinks that it might be a coincidence this time, so she immediately goes outside. Matthew shouted to Grey to explain why he humiliated Lady Shelley. There are some people around them but Grey can't answer anything since he doesn't understand what Matthew is talking about. Since Grey can't answer, Matthew just asked Shelley to explain what Grey did to her. Shelley informed him that the Silver Moon Knight only healed her injured foot and she was impressed since it didn't leave any scratches. Matthew concludes that Shelley is trying to defend Grey and he also stated that there is no medicine in the world that can heal a person instantly without leaving a scar. The people started to gossip that Grey deceived Lady Shelley and Grey was still puzzled because of his ignorance. He doesn't have any idea of the most words that people used and started to be scared, but the cat forced him to explain himself or else he will lose his reputation and suffer a social death. When Iron came, Grey told her that everyone is talking about something that he don't understand. Miss Iron, you're just in time. The character of the Betcher Knights is really unacceptable, Matthew stated. Iron asked them what was going on and Matthew told them that he came to the courtyard and he saw Betcher Knight hitting on Shelley. After hearing it, Gregory was mad, so Iron told him to take it easy and hear first what the people involved had to say. She asked Grey first and Grey told her that he stepped on Shelley's foot at the ball and hurt her, so he helped Shelley heal a little. Iron next asked Shelley, and since Shelley had no idea how to explain it, she just told Grey to use it again one more time in front of everyone. Grey was puzzled, so Shelley told him that he must show again the one that instantly cured her. Grey tried to use his holy healing magic but it won't work again, so he apologizes to Shelley since he can't use it a second time in a short period. His hand was immediately burned off after using divine magic and will take several days to recover. If his other hand will also be burned off, he won't be able to control the armor with puppetry. Because of what happened, Gregory told Iron that before she asked for his help, she needs to keep her men in check. Iron apologizes but she still trusts Grey. She will look into this matter and find out who is actually slandering. Gregory was still mad and told her to stay out of Gregory's family matters. The next morning, there are people coming to White City and according to Horace, it's Count Felder who has come to their aid with his army. Now that the military of the three counts of the Duchy of Betcher has gathered in the White City, Horace concludes that the situation is turning in their favor. Since Iron has just returned to White City and Felder Edward III has arrived on the second day, she thinks that it might be a bit too much of a coincidence. Horace and Iron welcomed Felder and Iron noticed someone inside the wagon. Felder stated that it was his son, little Jimmy. He's not well and the doctor says he can't get into the sun. That's why the wagon is covered by a black cloth. Felder also stated that if the Civil War really starts, it could be dangerous to leave him. Iron asked for Felder's approval to see Jimmy and so Felder's knight informed Jimmy that Iron from Betcher's family wanted to see him. Jimmy introduced himself and greeted Iron and she told Felder that Jimmy is a cute child. After a while, Iron enters her base and discuss with Robert and Heroes about Count Felder helping them. Horace feels that there's something that has been reciting Iron since this morning and Iron just stated that the timing of Felder's appearance is too much of a coincidence. Also his son little Jimmy was very cute looking but nothing like Felder since his hair is white. While Felder was in the Betcher castle, someone suddenly came and asked for another chance to Felder. He's Matthew and stated that he didn't expect that Iron would rather offend the Gregory family to protect the Silver Moon Knight. Please give me another chance. I'll make sure that Silver Moon Knight is out of the Betcher's camp, he said. While Grey was in his room, the cat wondered what he was doing. I'm making a list of things I have to do as a knight. Grey stated, he remembers that at the ceremony of becoming a knight, Iron let him read some vows. According to him, liches and demons don't often swear but they keep their vows and because of that he wants to keep those promises. He'll gonna start with the easiest way. To assist anyone who needs help. He's planning to go to the town and the cat suggested that he should not go to the town right now. Suddenly, someone threw tomatoes at his head and this lady was annoyed with Grey for appearing in the street. The lady continued to throw him some tomatoes and told him to get out on the street. Grey now wondered why he get the feeling that people aren't very friendly to him and it wasn't like this when he first came into town. The cat told him that it doesn't have anything to do with Grey personally. It was just that there were people spreading rumors in White City after the ball and these people were just deceived by that rumors. The streets of White City are really lively, except for the weird looks people give to Grey. While they are roaming around the city, someone is calling at their back. He's asking for some help from Gray. Please help us. The knight in armor, the little boy stated while kneeling to Gray. After hearing it, Gray was happy and realized that it was time for him to shine. No problem. Whatever your troubles are, I'll take care of them, Gray stated. The little boy told Gray that his sister was kidnapped by the gangsters and they demanded this kid bring Gray in front of them. The cat warns him that it's a naked conspiracy, but Gray doesn't care since the kid asked for his help. He wanted to help rather than sit back and do nothing. Gangsters making fun of Gray coming to where they are. The kid told them that he already brought Gray to them so they should let her sister go. The gangsters suddenly throw her sister and Tonitos jumped while Gray catch the girl. Are these kids just going to ambush me unarmed like this? Gray said, and the kid feels sad but suddenly shout to tell everyone that the knight of the Becher family has taken someone captive. The girl also shouted for help and Gray started to panic because he doesn't have any idea what was going on. All the people started to come and humiliate Gray. He was forced to get off the horse but Gray followed them because he believes that he did not do something wrong. The little girl was still acting to show everyone that she has been harassed by Gray. The boy who asked for Gray's help cornered him to look like a bad knight in front of the people and they have a master who paid a lot of money. Suddenly, while he was escaping, he was held by Shelley's order to her guard and he keeps asking who they are. It doesn't matter who I am. First tell me about the young master who will give you a lot of money, Shelley stated, which caused the boy to cry. Gray was also crying and the people has a sign hung onto his neck stating that he was a bad knight. They tie Gray's hand and they will take him to the castle to report the incident to Lady Iron. Suddenly, Shelley came and blocked the way. People started to gossip about Shelley and they knew that she was the girl from the ball who was bullied by Gray. Shelley asked them what was going on and this man told her that they were teaching Gray a lesson for bullying people from this town. Shelley explained that they misunderstood everything, that the Lord Silver Moon didn't bully her but helped her heal his feet. One man asked about the rumors from the ball circulated to this town and he also added that Gray is bullying the little girl. Shelley asked for the presence of the girl who they said was bullied by Gray. A lady brings the girl in front of Shelley and Shelley immediately walks toward her. At this moment, the kid is still acting up and Shelley pulled its hood where they can witness that the kid is not a girl but a boy. People were shocked and Shelley told them that they has been fooled by these kids. She ordered to bring the other kids and the crowd noticed that one of these kids is the one who cried out for help. Shelley explained that these kids are just victims of rumors and staged the prank themselves. The crowd is now claiming that they blamed the wrong person. Shelley ordered to untie Gray and reminded all the people that when the time Lady Iron gave Gray the title of Knight of the Silver Moon, she also gave him a baronetcy and a part of the fief. In other words, people insulted the honor of a baron without any reason. As a baron, Gray has the right to sanction them all. After hearing it, Gray told them that he will sanction everyone. People asked for forgiveness but Gray stated that forgiveness is not something that the perpetrators can just talk about. They must pay for it. He changed the message written on the sign and told the people to take the sign and walk, then he will forgive them all. Shelley laughed at Gray and the people were glad that Gray can still give forgiveness after what happened. On the other side, Felder and Matthew are observing them. This is what happens when you're given another chance. Felder questioned. Gray gives thanks to Shelley for helping him solve the misunderstanding with the people and Shelley just intended to return the favor. Shelley informed him that the person who framed him as young Master Matthew from the inner camp of Becher, the one who was after him the night of the ball, and he should let Iron know about it. Shelley also stated that she's afraid of Matthew's purpose, which might be to alienate Gray and Iron, so Gray better investigate Matthew's background. The cat still senses that there is something fishy, so he told Gray to ask why Shelley is telling all this information. If Shelley gets too close to Gray, she might drag Gregory into the war, but since she thinks that Gray is funny, that's why he told everything to Gray. They were about to part ways but Matthew suddenly pulled Shelley. Her guards can't do anything because Matthew threatens them that he will execute Lady Shelley once they will come closer. Matthew obviously did this in order to not get her involved in this war. He was abandoned by Lord Felder because he failed the mission given by Felder, and now he was mad at Shelley for helping Gray solve the hatred of the people, even if he failed to sow discord. If he could just eliminate Gray, Felder would definitely be happy. He dares Gray that he will let Shelley go once Gray rips off an arm and a leg. Since Gray is not Shelley's subordinate, she thought that Gray can't do it for her. Matthew laughed evilly and Gray started to think. While he's looking straight at Shelley, he stated, "Fine. I agree to this condition," and rip one of his arms in front of everyone. "I hope you will keep your word," Gray said. The guards were shocked and Matthew really believed what he saw. Gray then throws the empty armor at Matthew, causing him to be unbalanced. While Shelley examines the damaged armor, she comes to the conclusion that it is merely empty and that Gray invented the story that he pulled his arm back into the armor to make it appear more realistic. Matthew warns Shelley that the moment will come when she will be sobbing uncontrollably while holding her grandfather's corpse. Since Gregory's mansion is really well located and there are no people near the locality, they easily sneak in, and it means that they have plenty of time to talk to Gregory before people will find out. Gregory believes that these people are not here to eliminate him, and because of his confidence, the boss tried to throw a knife on his head and ordered him to write a letter to his thief right away and asked them to send troops to support the Betcher family against the king. Support the Betcher family, but you are not the men of iron, Gregory stated, and these people don't want to tell their true identity, so Gregory refused to write the letter. The man started to be annoyed and shouted to Gray that he don't have the option to refuse and that if he will not write a letter, everyone in the mansion will be executed. If they will execute Gregory, they won't get his letter or seal, and after his death, his son will inherit his title according to the will. It is a will that has been proved by the archbishop, and even the king cannot interfere with it. Gregory knew that Felder is the one who sent all of these men to kidnap him, and they were shocked at how Gregory knows about it. At Betcher Castle Study Hall, Lady Iron and Felder are talking and someone interrupts them to inform them that there's a messenger for Count Felder outside the castle, so Felder excuses himself to Lady Iron. Iron started to doubt, so she ordered Abbey Robert to send a message to Horace to follow Felder's messenger with a bunch of men. Felder's messenger sends information that Gregory inferred that it was he who ordered people to kidnap Gregory. Felder told his messenger to go back to his people as due as instructed. For him, as long as his goal will be done, there is no fear that Gregory will not comply. After that, Felder go back to Iron, and Iron asked what happened. Nothing. It's just some trivial matter in the fiefdom. Nothing important, Felder answered. White City has been under martial law, and without Iron's order, it is forbidden to open the city gates at night, so she asked Felder how his messenger from his fief entered the White City. Because of what Iron stated, Felder has been puzzled. At the house of Gregory, Felder's men are still waiting for the messenger to send Felder's return. When they look out the window, they thought that it is the messenger who came, but they recognized her. Shelley is already outside Gregory's mansion. When she entered, she wondered why the hall is dark and there was not even candlelight. Together with Shelley, the cat accompanies her. Shelley is thinking that maids recruited from White City are unreliable, so they should be thrown up. While she was walking in the hall, she did not notice that there was someone behind her. The man suddenly pulls Shelley and covers her mouth with a cloth. They bring Shelley in front of Gregory and threaten him that they will murder Shelley if he will still refuses to write a letter. Gregory is mad and wanted to hit them, but he can't do anything because his hands are tied up. The man touched Shelley and teased Gregory that he can't do anything if he will touch Shelley in front of him. He removes the cloth covers on Shelley's mouth and ordered her to say a few words, but what Shelley did is mock the man while saying, "Your threats are too lame. I guess you haven't succeeded in threatening anyone several times so far." After hearing it from Shelley, the man was furious and hit Shelley with strength, causing her to spew blood and fall. He stands in front of Shelley while stating that he will try his cheap threats if it will work or not. Shelley dared him and the man laughed, but he was not aware that the cat is already at his back. The cat jumped towards him and leave a scratch on his face. The cat is carrying the amulet of Gray and shouted, "Gray, I'll leave it to you." There was sorcery happening and all of them wondered what was going on. A minute ago, Gray accompanied Shelley to Gregory's house and they both knew that there was something wrong because it was too dark inside the mansion. Gray offered that they'll go inside and save Shelley's grandpa, but she refused since there are several rooms in that mansion and if they can't determine the exact location of her grandpa, they'll be in a passive situation of being intimidated by the hostages. Shelley decided to go alone and asked Gray if he can find a way to follow her. Gray answered that his armor is conspicuous, so there was no way to follow Shelley quietly. The only way he thinks to follow Shelley afterward is to let the cat go with Shelley. The cat was annoyed because in his mind, even if he knew the location and ran out to Gray to report, it would be too late. Gray handed his necklace to the cat and stated that he needs to hang this around his neck for a while. It is the disposable amulet he stole from the Great Lake. He instructed the cat that if they will find the place he should slam it to the ground and shout for Gray's name and he can reach with the transmission. Going back inside Gregory's mansion, the man was shocked after seeing Gray appearing out of thin air in a flash. Shelley now believes that Gray has magic and might have a relationship with the Holy Spirit. In the end, all sins will be cleared and all souls will be ascended. There is no room for a single shadow in every corner where the sun shines. When Gray completely appears in front of them, he stated, "I am Gray, the Knight of the Silver Moon. I hereby sanction you in the name of the Holy Spirit." Angel Catherine is up above the mansion and senses that a messenger of the Holy Spirit usually goes through this route. The men knew that the guy in front of them is the Silver Moon Rider Knight who has been in the limelight. The boss was confident that Gray is alone, and even if he's skillful he cannot win the fight. They were all about to take down Gray using their sword, but Gray used magic to block all attacks coming to him, and his armor is also a great help. He employed strong magic, causing them to fly away. The opponents are still assertive in fighting with Gray despite the pain they suffer. Gray is very confident that he will win against them, and when the opponent tried to attack him, Gray blocks using his armor, causing the man's hand to disjoin. Gray casts quadruple tongue binding technique and illuminating beam chain to tie all of the opponents, and in the end, they failed their mission ordered by Felder, and they are now fully bruised on their bodies. Gregory and Shelley are now safe, and Gregory is staring at Gray, thinking about how he suddenly appeared and employed the chains that emitted light. No matter how Gregory looked at it, he knew that it was definitely magic. The only human in this world who can freely use magic is the Holy Order's Paladin, so Gregory thought that Iron pulled a favor from the Holy Order, and because of that, he wants to re-examine the Becher family and Iron's abilities. After the fight, Gray asked Shelley what they should do with these people, and Shelley said she will take care of it. She talks to the boss, and she knows a lot of every detail about him, like his address and his family's background. The man is begging not to hurt his family and stated that his business has nothing to do with them. Shelley is not that kind of person, but she informed the man that no matter who sent them and for what purpose they attacked the Gregory family, they have failed, so Shelley is offering them two choices. The first one is to identify who sent them to Gregory's mansion, and the second is they should pretend that they all die here. The man agreed and told Shelley to keep her word and don't strike out his family. The man paused and suddenly vomit blood, causing his people to wonder what happened to him. Shelley put a poison capsule hidden between his teeth, and he might bite through it, causing him to die instantly. Gregory is soundless while looking at the window, so Shelley walks through him and asks what's wrong. They can see at the window that the Becher family arrived to pick them up, so Gregory was impressed by Iron's quick actions, and he concludes that Iron ordered her people to follow Felder's messenger. Going back to the Becher Castle study hall, Iron is still investigating Felder, but Felder won't say anything about how his messenger entered the White City without Iron's permission. According to Iron, she did not remember that she allowed Felder's messenger. The only thing she recalls is giving thanks to Felder for his guidance. Felder stated that Iron should know the difference between her and her father. According to him, supporting Iron is a huge risk, that's why she should be grateful to Felder. "I have learned a great lesson," Iron stated. After their conversation, Abby, Robert and Iron is heading to another room. Robert told everything to Iron that after sending a letter of support to the Becher family, the old count involved himself in an accident so that the Gregory family would think that the Becher family is the one who actually did all those things. Iron calmed Robert and told him that striking Felder now would shake the other forces who joined them. Aside from that, Robert informed Iron that Gregory is fine with the help of Gray and he is now in the lounge. When Iron entered where Gregory is, she apologized for being late. Gregory immediately asked if Iron already discussed things with Felder, but according to Iron, Felder's explanation was to help her subdue the Gregory family, that's why she wasn't able to make a move at this time. She is also worried at the same time because he concludes that Felder might be the king's rat. They are still talking in the middle of the night, and Iron informed Gregory that Felder brought his only son Jimmy, and Jimmy has snow-white hair, which is uncommon since they are the only ones in the whole Isaac who have such bloodline in the Becher family. Gregory immediately surmises that Jimmy might be the bastard son that the king found. Iron couldn't understand as of now why Felder brought Jimmy to White City, and the only thing she can do is to wait and watch what unfolds. Felder walks late at night going to another room. When he entered, he immediately saw Jimmy and apologized to him. Jimmy told him that he don't need to be polite since he don't like to hear such things. "Tell me what happened that made you come to me for help." Jimmy stated, Felder informed him that the Silver Moon Knight has sabotaged their plans multiple times since the beginning of Port Hamlet. Felder also added that Gray is a strange guy and no one knows where he came from. Gray acts absurdly like a child most of the time, but is also very resilient, unmoved by gossip, and very strong with the courage to take on 100 men. Most importantly, his loyalty to Iron is a very troublesome character. "You want to make that Silver Moon Knight accidentally vanish? Fine, I'll help you," Jimmy stated and let out his wings together with many bats around the room. After hearing it, Felder was happy that Jimmy will help him this time. There's an angel who discovered that Jimmy is an underage vampire and she asked for approval from the higher to dispose of Jimmy, but it was denied and she can only watch and do nothing. These angels are guiding White City over deviants, and since they discovered a lick in a vampire, Catherine stated that there might be a chance that there will be more and more deviants gathering in this city in the future. The following day, Iron, Gregory, and Felder are talking about how to set up the defensive line. Little Jimmy entered the room as they were talking, and Jimmy along with Felder act like a proud father and son in front of everyone. Jimmy made an excuse that he hadn't played with Felder since they came to White City, and as expected, Felder acts and said that he was busy right now so he can play with someone else. Since Jimmy has bad intentions for Gray, he stated that he wanted to play with the knight in the white armor and he's pointing to Gray. Afterward, Jimmy brings a lamp and Gray is wondering why they are heading to the underground of the castle. "Don't worry, we'll be there soon," Jimmy stated. When they arrived, Jimmy welcomed Gray and he thought that no one will bother them in this area. Suddenly, Shelley appeared and said, "It's the dungeon of White City. Why did you bring us here to play little Jimmy?" Jimmy looks devastated after seeing Lady Shelley, and he said that he never invited Shelley to come with them. Since Shelley insisted to include her in their games, Jimmy can't do anything but let Shelley play with them. The game is called The Brave and the Dragon. Jimmy told a story that a long time ago, there was an evil dragon living in the dungeon. It kidnapped the princess with white hair who used to live in the White City, which led to the wrath of the people. Eventually, the brave guy emerged and killed the dragon. Jimmy cast the Eye of Illusion, causing Gray and Shelley to be out of their mind. Jimmy told them that the two of them are mortal enemies and instruct them that they will fight against each other for the princess as the brave and the wicked dragon. "I don't want to be the dragon, can I be the brave guy instead?" Gray stated, causing Jimmy to be shocked as he thought that he successfully made Gray be hypnotized. Jimmy's magic will work unless his opponent's magical skill is higher than his. Since he thought that Gray is a human, he's wondering why his magic failed with Gray. Jimmy's plan is to make Gray hypnotized, but it did work for the cat instead of Gray. The cat is now hysterically mad and wanted to attack Gray as his opponent. Jimmy is wondering what happened to the cat and he comes to the conclusion that his magic doesn't fail, it was just a mishap. The cat keeps biting Gray's armor and Gray is now puzzled about why the cat suddenly freaked out. "I'm the evil dragon," the cat stated. While Jimmy is wondering, he was scared as he feels something on his back. When he turned around, it was Shelley holding a brick and saying to Jimmy, "Oh, princess, please step back." Jimmy now believes that his hypnosis succeeded and he remembered that when he babbled a story. He said there that the princess is white-haired, that's why Shelley is calling him princess. "Princess, please stand back. Your brave hero will destroy the abominable evil dragon for you," Shelley stated. The cat still acted hyper and wanted Gray to let him go. While Shelley is holding the brick, she smashes it into Gray and Gray is screaming in agony. When Gray passed out, Shelley invited Jimmy to go back to the castle together. But Jimmy was scared and ordered Shelley to not come near him. It is said that deep in the dungeons of White Castle, the screams of a certain teenager echoed all day long. On that day, Iron ordered the doctors to go to the treatment ward and told Gray to explain. After what happened, Shelley fall into a coma and even the cat has been unconscious, but Gray wasn't sure what's the reason because they only played a little game. Abby Robert told Iron that Shelley and the cat seem to have been afflicted with some kind of black magic, which requires a priest from the church for treatment. If Jimmy is the one who used black magic, Iron is wondering why Gray is not affected, so she comes to the conclusion that Gray is a devout believer and has the protection of the Holy Spirit. When the night comes, there's a bat that brings food for Jimmy and this bat suddenly transformed into a little girl. She's Dora, Jimmy's subordinate. Dora called Jimmy Master Jones, and since Jimmy heard it, he knew from the very start that it was Dora behind him. Jimmy is still crying after what happened, and when Dora saw it, he was irritated and asks Jimmy who bullied him. He told Dora that there was a girl who threatened him with a brick and hugged him in front of the public. Because of it, Jimmy feels ashamed of himself and wanted to make revenge. Jimmy blamed Felder for what happened and he was afraid that his good sister might suspect him. Dora offered him that she can execute anyone including Iron for no reason as long as she gets an order from Jimmy, but Jimmy hit her and reminded her that they can't take the initiative to execute people, and that was their agreement with those holy spirits. Jimmy was also aware that there might be an angel around the White City watching over them, and it would be a disaster if they will be caught. As long as they will not murder anyone, they won't be targeted by those angels. Jimmy already has a plan in his mind on how to get rid of Gray, and he ordered Dora to send a message to the king to send his shadow guard troops. Before he go to sleep, He swore that he will revive the great blood race and stated that he is the light of hope for the blood race. The next morning, when Jimmy woke up, the first thing he saw is the silver moon knight Gray. He was shocked upon seeing Gray in his room, and Gray informed him that Iron ordered him to play and take care of Jimmy. Iron also said that the game they played last time is too dangerous, so Gray decided to play a game of family. "Let's go out for a walk in the sun," Gray stated while he faced Jimmy to the light from the sun. Jimmy shouted and passed out. The road to the revival of the great blood race is a long way to go. Gray called Jimmy a son and apologizes to Jimmy since he's not aware that Jimmy is afraid of the sun. Jimmy told Gray to close the curtain or else something will really happen. "But little Jimmy, as the son of a knight, you can't stay in your room like this," Gray stated. Instead of being happy, Jimmy was mad and told Gray to get out of his room, but Gray can't follow what Jimmy said since he was following Iron's order that he should play with Jimmy for the whole day. Gray still forced Jimmy to go out and take a walk outside, and since Jimmy won't listen to him, he beat Jimmy since that is what Iron instructed him. Jimmy was surprised after seeing the hole in the wall made by Gray with just the wind pressure of his fist. Jimmy doesn't have a choice but to ride to Tonitos and go outside the castle with Gray. While they are outside, those kids who set him up saw him and they thought that Gray will scold them, but Gray just informed them to not always wander down those alleys to avoid being in danger. These kids are all orphans adopted by the church. And after White City entered a state of readiness for war, the church's finances went into trouble, so they were gullible enough to set up Gray for a small profit instead of punishing them. Gray donated all his belongings to the church after he knew about everything. "We have great respect for you, you are a true knight," said the kids, causing Gray to be thrilled. They idolized Gray to the point that when they grow up, they wanted to be a great knight like Gray. "Do you really want to be knights?" Gray asked them, and they answered yes. Because of that, Gray told them that they don't need to wait until they grow up. Gray formed a knightly order and let the kids follow him. "Let's go to the church and get you commissioned as knights," Gray stated. Suddenly, one kid asked about the man wearing armor in front of Gray. Gray introduces Jimmy to them, and he told the kids that Jimmy is his adopted son. When they arrive at the church, he said to the priest that he wanted all these kids to be a knight and he needs the priest to be a witness. The priest concludes that Gray is playing with the children, so he told Gray that he can be a witness, but they need to wait a little while because there's someone praying inside the church. It's the first time Gray has seen someone other than him come to church during his whole time in White City. Pray with the kids is doing a pledging ceremony inside the church, and Gray told them that for now, they are all trainees and they'll start the training the next day. This is the path Gray chose for himself and will never regret becoming a knight. Suddenly, the woman in a hood goes near Gray and introduces herself. She's Angel Catherine, and Gray feels some strange vibe after he saw Catherine. Although there is a deliberate attempt to hide it, Gray can sense the girl's vibe in front of him and he knows that it is an angel. Gray started to overthink and wanted to escape, but Catherine told him that she won't do anything to Gray since Gray is not breaking the law or trying to harm people. After that, Gray needs to leave and the pastor gives thanks to him. Because of him, those kids who were always naughty started to read the holy book on their own initiative. "My admiration for you is second only to the Holy Spirit. A pious knight like you should be recognized by the Holy Spirit," the pastor stated, and asked for Gray's help to apply for the Holy Order's seal of the cross. He also added that Gray can continue providing financial assistance. After hearing it, Gray immediately leaves and plans to go to tavern after he will bring back Jimmy to the castle. Afterward, he goes to the tavern for gambling to earn money and give it to the pastor. After he earned a lot of money, he's planning to go back to the church, but there was an old man asking for money. And since Gray is generous, he gave money to the old man. Other people saw it and they also asked for money to Gray until it's only 2 silver coins left. Many days have passed. Jimmy is getting weak inside his room because they do many things with Gray. He was dragged out into the sun to learn how to ride a horse. Gray also let him learn swordplay in the hot sun, and they study night novels, dance, and do housework. He also complains that Gray is obsessed with women's clothing. Since he can hold it any longer, he ordered Dora to tell the king to act outright. The day has come, and the king is ready to attack the White City together with his troops. On Iron's side, she's preparing for the battle against the king. Robert informed her that the warrior have assembled, so she immediately go at the Tower Castle. When she arrived, she started to vow in front of the warriors. In the middle of the ceremony, Horus heard some noise behind him, and it was the children in the army. Horus was mad and asked for the commander. The commander stated that the children were brought by the Silver Moon Knight and are said to be members of his order. "We are the members of the super invincible Silver Moon Knights," the children stated. In the office of Iron, she asked Gray about the children and Gray said that these kids have a lot of potential. Iron told the children that she needs to talk to Gray first, so the children left the room. Iron scolded Gray and ordered him to send back the children to the church. Gray insisted that those kids are members of his orders, and Iron reminded him that war is a place where they might get hurt or lose their life, so it's better to not bring the kids to the battlefield, as long as I am here. They won't get hurt, Gray stated, causing Iron to be mad and asked Gray if he understand what war is. The battlefield was a pit of unbridled fervor. It's the meeting point of life and death where swords and shadows are intertwined. That is where the knights born in poverty make their names. It is a place where all the knights who crave merit and glory thrive, the sacred ground. When the night comes, Gray is hiding in the stable for too long and he was disappointed for making Iron upset, and Gray was sad because Iron told him to find a place to review his actions. Tonitos is asking how Gray made Iron angry with him, and Gray stated that it's not a pleasant memory. Iron told him that the only thing that matters to Gray is his merit and fame. She was mad at Gray for involving the kids in their upcoming war, and she explained that the battlefield is not a playground but it means bloodshed and sacrifices where they prevent children from going to war. After hearing it, Gray insisted that those kids are not children anymore and he can protect them on the battlefield. Iron became mad and told Gray that the moment when knights and the army will be separated, those kids won't have protection as they have no ability to protect themselves, and only death awaits them. Death is not a terrible thing, is it? You don't have to be so scared. Even if they die, I can make them. Gray stated, but was interrupted by Iron because the moment she heard it from Gray she was shocked. After that, he was told to get out and rethink, and he was still baffled of why Iron became mad. Tonitos explained the difference between being alive and undead, and Gray asked what he should do to understand everything. Tonitos advised him to go to tavern and use his magic to taste the food and become absolutely addicted. After hearing it, Gray was very excited and wanted to experience what it's like to be alive. While they are walking, Gray noticed the old man who asked for money from him. They fought with his wife because of his gambling addiction and he was about to hit his wife, but Gray interrupted. The old man recognized Gray and he blamed Gray for giving him a lot of money that he couldn't resist gambling. At this point, the old man asks for more money from Gray and Gray agrees as long as he will not hurt his wife. The lady is crying and told Gray not to give the old man more money because he got his finger cut off due to gambling, and she's afraid that the old man might be beaten to death this time. The old man was annoyed and still pled for money, and Gray handed him 2 silver coins, but he was disappointed after seeing it. Gray explained that it was all the money he has, but the man was irritated and wanted to punch him. Gray is observing the lady and old man with different emotions, and Gray was disappointed and blamed himself and said to himself that this is not supposed to be like this because it's not the same as the night written in the book. King Baird V's army has advanced out of the Great Snowy Mountains and they have made their way to the territory of the Duchy of Better. The day has finally come. Baird VY is currently stationed across the Great River to the west of the White City after half a month of husky marching. He has brought 40,000 troops under his direct command compared to Iron's 20,000 troops, with the supporting troops sent by the nobles from all over the nations. Iron is afraid that Baird VY will eventually be able to mobilize a full 100,000 troops. Once they let Baird V's across the river to the west, they will have no chance to defend themselves. Gregory told her that fighting a war is not just about numbers, and to win the battle, they need 3 elements: the timing, location, and manpower. It happens that it's the rainy season of the Duchy of Better, so there might be a possibility that the king may not cross the river. Therefore he is not advantaged because of the weather. Before the alarm was sounded, Iron sent a people to occupy the high ground on both sides of the western river long before. All they will do is break the bank and before Baird VY can consolidate. They plan to crush him directly in one blow. This is the best time for them to attack, and only by capturing the king alive. Tonight will be a sleepless night, and Iron is asking for the help of his 2 uncles. Abby Roberts informed Iron that Gray didn't show up at the barracks after the alarm went off. At this point, Iron is still mad at Gray, and she told Robert that Gray will voluntarily go to the battlefield if he really wanted to. Aside from that, Robert has something to report to Iron. Lady Shelley, who had fallen into a coma, has awakened, and she asked Iron to inform her privately that little Jimmy knows the black magic of manipulating people's hearts and he is most likely not a human. If this is true, then this is no longer just a war between humans, Robert stated, which caused Iron to be puzzled. Going back to Gray, he is still in the tavern and people are wondering why he did not go to the castle after the alarm went off. While he was thinking, the cat threw him a fishbone and he was surprised and glad that the cat has already awakened. He shared with the cat about the old man, and the cat explained that giving him money is not helping him at all. Gray stated that he only wants to help and comply with his vows, but he doesn't understand why it ended in the worst situation. The cat told him that the human world is very complicated, and he shows some examples to Gray. He explained that Gray's vow stated that the knight needs to help, but he should analyze each situation. Not all help is needed from everyone because it might cause trouble. Gray asked the cat what he should do, but they can't answer him and just said that Gray is the only knight who believes in the oath of valor. One day, if Gray fails to gain the respect of others and even his lord starts to question his decision, being a knight will no longer make him happy, instead, it will make him miserable and confused. Now, the war between men is about to begin, and Catherine is wondering to Gray if what will he choose. While the Duchy of Becher is preparing for the battle, the troop hears the sound of a horse's hooves when it goes near them. They recognize that it was Gray, so they let him pass to their area. He looks right away at Lady Iron and goes directly to the highland next to the river valley. Troops are wondering why Gray is in hurry and riding other horses aside from Tonito's. Iron is observing the river, and one of her troops told her that the Silver Moon Knight arrived and that something urgent is to report to her. Iron is still thinking that Gray wanted to build his reputation on the battlefield, that's why he's participating. The troops bring the Silver Moon Knight in front of Iron, and Iron asked what urgent matter he will report, but he couldn't utter anything. Iron was disappointed and just turned around. Suddenly, the man they thought that the Silver Moon Knight rushed to Iron and stabbed her. Iron was shocked as she thought that Gray betrayed her. The man in armor ordered the troops to burn all the boats and must have no way to cross the river and fight a defensive battle if they really wanted Iron to be saved. Iron realized that she was wrong. It seems like you're not happy about it. It's very easy to impersonate you, Silver Moon Knight, the man in armor said. Abbey Robert told the man to let go of Lady Iron as they already burned all the ships. He let go Lady Iron and jumps to the cliff, then Robert ordered the troops to catch the impersonators. Iron is suffering in pain, so Robert doesn't want to leave her, but Iron ordered him to find the real Silver Moon Knight, Gray. Gray is outside the tavern and he's still down for being confused what the real feelings of being alive. The cat advised him to sleep, but he said doesn't sleep, so it will not work on him. This is something you have to find out for yourself. The cat stated. While they are talking, several troops are hunting him and accused that he's the one who stabs Lady Iron. Gray was shocked and tried to explain, but the troops won't let him and tied him with a chain. They bring Gray to jail, and the cat came to inform him of the reason why he was arrested. This matter has caused panic in the White City, and no one knows whether it is Gray or the assassin wearing his armor. Gray was mad after hearing that Lady Iron has been stabbed. Suddenly, Iron came and he was explaining that he was the real Gray. Iron is asking Gray to prove that he's the real Silver Moon Knight. How about I give you a dance? Gray stated, and after hearing it, Iron realized that he was the real Gray, and the cat is wondering how Iron recognized him. Iron released Gray, and Gray offered to look for the imposter, but Iron refused and ordered Gray to stay in the castle and keep an eye on Felder and little Jimmy. How about the war? Gray asked, and Iron answered that he don't need to come and that staying in the castle is her greatest favor to Gray. Everyone knows about what happened, and they also know that it wasn't Gray, but no one could be sure if it was Gray under the armor. The news has spread among the people. Gray is always wearing his helmet and never revealed his true face, so no one could discern his authenticity in the first place. Many people are afraid because of this, that's why he wants Gray to stay in the castle and wait for her to come back alive. But my chivalry will not allow me to witness my lord heading off to the battlefield alone. Gray stated, causing Iron to be annoyed while saying that she doesn't need Gray's chivalry as it will not help her victory. Chivalry without victory is worthless. Iron stated and reminded Gray to stay in the castle and not run around. After that, Gray goes to Shelley, and Shelley predicts that the war against the king will be lost because of the outnumbered troops of Iron. Gray shared with Shelley his confusion, and Shelley told him that his chivalry is not meaningless. Gray feels better after hearing it from Shelley. If you have a dilemma in your heart, I'd suggest you visit church since the pastor can answer questions and solve problems, Shelley advised. The pastor is scared of what happened in their city, so he wanted to leave the White City. He passed by the walls and ended up having a lump because of the hook he used. While he was standing, Gray is already at his back, and he was scared when Gray suddenly spoke. The pastor asked what Gray needs, and Gray said that he was confused, so he liked to seek guidance from him. After hearing it, the pastor invited him to go back to the church. After a while, there is a troop reported that the king has crossed the river. They are crossing the river at a reef-strewn beach, 10 kilometers from Becher's camp. They are now trying to bring knights and supplies to shore on rafts using militia. Iron started to panic after realizing that the king have no intention of going back, so they should not let them land at their camp. Another report came. The king's army has been spotted to the northwest, and the men of the Felder family and Casper's men are mutinied and gathering around the king's army. Since Felder is under house arrest, Iron started to think about what he used for ordering his troops. Gregory told Iron to pull back to the White City, but Iron refuses because she doesn't want the people of the city to suffer. At this point, she was still positive and decided to go to the northeast to stop Baird VY from landing, going back to Grey. He's confessing about his chivalry, which he once believed so strongly, but now he doesn't know whether he should continue to believe it or not. He had sworn an oath to Lady Iron to guard her against everything, but now she ordered Grey to stay in the castle at the most dangerous time. According to the oath, he should have gone to help Iron, but he couldn't disobey her order, and now he's confused. The knight's oath isn't quite as literal as it seems, and he knew that he screwed everything up by strictly fulfilling it. The pastor is guessing that Grey is trying to be a great knight and make everyone accept him as a great knight. He advised Grey that there is nothing in this world that is acceptable to everyone, not even the Holy Spirit. It's normal for you to be confused about this because you can't see the real yet. Real means your heart, your own heart. The pastor said and told Grey that he should obey his own heart. Iron ordered her troops to drive the king's army back to the river and protect the White City. The opponent is already attacking them, especially Iron Berbera. She was already wounded while the king is very confident to fight against her. Iron is very determined to crush Beard VY and win the battle. At that time, right or wrong, your actions themselves will demonstrate the best interpretation of chivalry. The pastor added, and Grey started to think. The pastor informed Grey that the archbishop sent him a message that the king will enter the White City the next day by noon. Grey understood what the pastor said, and he added one last question. What's the difference between the dead and the living? Grey questioned, and the pastor answered him that the undead and the living are not different. What important is the heart, not the identity. Grey started to understand everything, and he suddenly asked if the pastor is trying to sneak out because Grey saw him that he jump over the walls. The pastor explained that the king will launch a full-scale attack tonight and Iron's army will not be able to stop it. That's why he wanted to follow his heart and survive. After hearing it, Grey was rattled and rushed to Iron because he remembered his oath to protect her from any harm. The pastor wanted to come with Grey. Grey thought that the pastor will also protect Iron, but he only wanted to get out to the city and needs help because the walls are too high for him. After they come out to the church, the children are outside and they hear that Grey wanted to protect Iron, so they ask to join the battle. Come on, boss. This is the time for us to prove ourselves, the children stated. The pastor told them that the battle is not a playground, so they must go back to bed and just sleep. This time, Grey agreed with the pastor and said that he was not sure he can protect all these kids. They begged Grey and said that they are not kids who need protection but knights who fight alongside him. Grey was thrilled after hearing it, and he decided to bring the kids to help the Lord win the war. When they were about to leave, there is a troop who block him and said that he is a traitor. Grey stated that there might be another misunderstanding, but the troop was to attack him, and Grey this time know how to fight back. You people always attack me without any distinction. Grey said, but the troop was confused because they saw Grey stab the dungeon guards, Felder, and Jimmy with his own hands. Grey said that it was not him and it might be the imposter who imitate his appearance. Grey is now mad and decided to get rid of that guy first before he goes to Lady Iron to avoid big trouble. The real Silver Moon Knight is chasing the imposter by himself. Jimmy and Felder ploy about imitating Grey, and when they saw Grey chasing them, Jimmy ordered them to execute Grey as soon as possible. The enemy stops at the rendezvous point and the cat is wondering why they stop. Grey concludes that the knight in front of him is the one attempting to pass for him. When Grey questioned the imposter's name, he instantly took off and threw his helmet. There are a lot of heavily armed elite warriors surrounded by Grey at this point, and the imposter introduced himself as the captain of the first unit of the king's direct shadow guard, or Shadow One. When the cat saw the several armies, he then asked Grey what they will do. Run straight through, Grey answered, and started to run right over the enemy and Tonitos strike a surprise attack. Shadow One ordered his guard to line up holding their spear and shield. Tonitos was tormented a lot in the past by this pesky formation, but now, it doesn't matter to him. They used a rope to catch Grey but ended up to be failed. Grey is raging like a hurricane and Tonitos spotted the imposter. Shadow One made fun of Grey for depending on his horse and was about to strike when Grey punched him, causing him to fall off and suffer severe agony despite wearing heavy armor. He made the painful decision to recognize his failure and ordered Grey to have him put to death. Gray told him that he won't want to execute anyone. He just wished that Shadow One will apologize to Iron and to the warriors of White City. Little Jimmy was annoyed because the Shadow Guard failed on their mission, so he comes out to the wagon. He has reached the limit of his patience, and what he wants now is to execute all of these people, including Fertile, the guards, and Shadow One. The cat, Tonitos, and Gray witnessed how Jimmy used black magic that directly robs life. Jimmy laughs after seeing Gray witness his true identity. From the beginning till now, Becher's people thought that it was Baird V who wanted to annex the Duchy of Becher, but the truth is it was Jimmy, the descendant of Dracula, the noble blood. You'll go to hell with your pathetic lord and your pathetic chivalry. Jimmy said. A long time ago, while Jimmy is reading a book, Dora interrupted him and informed him that his parents is looking for him. He always runs away from his home, and his dream is to have a magnificent castle and conquer the world. He doesn't want to live in a castle that is built on a cliff with nothing to live in. The one he wants is a big castle with a lot of servants. He already planned before that he will go to the human world and then find a human noble with white hair just like him to pretend to be his illegitimate son, and after that, he will execute all the noble's heirs so the castle will be him. That is why Jimmy is now in White City and pretended to be the illegitimate son of Iron Berbera's father. When Jimmy used his powers to strike Gray, there was a significant explosion and Jimmy believed that everyone had passed away. The cat was still alive and he asks Gray right away if he was okay. Gray's armor has been damaged, but he comes out of the armor with full confidence and used his magic to awaken the warriors. Jimmy was surprised that there is a Lich in White City. On Iron's side, she looks so tired and started to lose hope. Their cavalry has been wiped out and less than 2,000 infantrymen remain in their camp. Gregory looks for Gray, but he was disappointed after hearing from Iron that she told Gray to stay in the castle. Iron accepts their defeat because there are several left on the king's troops, and since Iron decided to give up, Gregory will choose to surrender to the king when the king's army slaughters the White City. At this point, the White City was surrounded by the king's army and people are calling for the Silver Moon Knight. Shelley wanted to go out of the city because she was worried about Gregory. She looks for Gray, but the troops told her that the Silver Moon Knight has left the White City with a group of children. Shelley didn't believe it because she knows that Gray isn't someone who would run away from the battle. Iron removes her armor and waits for the king to come. On the southern tip of the continent of Celts, in the kingdom of Isaac, an unjust war is taking place. The king will pardon Iron once she will renounce her right to inherit the throne of the House of Becher. Iron just laughed and the king stated that his vows are trustworthy. What about the vow that the Becher family took with the royal family when they first pledged their alliance to it? Iron questioned. The king really believes that Iron is not the first heir of the Becher and said that it should be his brother, Jimmy. Iron knew that the king only want his reputation for his bad deeds. Horus thought that they will still fight together with Iron until the end, but Iron stands while saying, "This is my last order, drop your weapons and get out of here, please." They are all now in sorrow while dropping all their weapons. Everyone was released from their pledge made by Iron and she was happy that Gray is not with her. She believes that with Gray's ability, he can find a new lord easily. Until now, Iron continues to fight until the very end of her life and the king ordered his soldiers to get ready to attack. Suddenly, someone is shouting saying, "Humility, integrity, compassion, valor, justice, and sacrifice." Iron knew that it was Gray who come to save her. There are still those who defy the law to keep their vows for their glory and conviction. The king's army started to panic because they know that Gray is the legendary Silver Moon Knight of the Duchy of Becher. I, Gray, have pledged allegiance to Iron, Berbera, and Becher. All those who will fight against her will be my enemies. All those who harm her will be my enemies. I will fight for her honor to the death. Gray pledged. Catherine witnessed everything and she was happy for seeing the little naive Lich who still remains committed. A moment ago, the pastor admired Gray for taking them out of the city with all the children, while they are hiding. There is cavalry coming to them and the pastor recognized them as not the knight of the White City nor the king's army. They were surrounded by several armies causing the pastor to panic. The kid told him that it was one of them and they are not enemies. They recognized it because of the coat of arms on their clothes, which is the same as the Silver Moon's coat of arms, and they knew that it was their boss Gray, ready to go to war. Little knights. Gray stated, Gray will bring them all to the battlefields and he brought back armor and war horses. Taking them into the battlefield is an oath he made with the children and a knight never breaks his oath. The king ordered his armies to attack Gray. Gray will not let anyone leave this place until they apologize to Lady Iron. Angel Catherine is observing Gray above and for her. Gray is very strong for an ordinary human. But facing 100,000 men, his magic will definitely run out. It's just that Gray knows that his opponent is invincible, yet he's still striving. The cat was amazed at Gray for keeping his oath to the children, and Gray stated that he received a revelation from the Holy Spirit and that the Holy Spirit does not need an army of the undead to participate in this war. At this point, Gray is not sure if he can win the battle. What he knew is he can make the king apologize to Iron. The horse is running bumpier, so the kid is losing control, but Gray told them to believe in themselves. You are all knights of the Silver Moon. The Holy Spirit will bless you, Gray stated. After that, the Holy Spirit blessing emerged to Gray and he feels more powerful this time. The Archbishop was shocked after seeing it. It's a miracle that only a paladin can use, a divine blessing. Even the angel Catherine was amazed at Gray. Gray's horses are on fire and the cat began to rattle because he thought this fire will going to put them to death. This is not fire, this is ascension. Everything is a revelation of the Holy Spirit, Gray stated. Even Tonitos will fight with the holy light. The king was annoyed after seeing Paladin on Iron's command. There is a crowd looking for Gray's battle against the 100,000 armies of the king. All of them are cheering and believing in Gray's ability. And they started to shout, "Miracle!" When evil grips the earth, there will be heroes clothed in holy light who will come to save the world with the will of the Holy Spirit. Catherine decided to help Gray this time, and Gray knew that it was the angel he meets at the church. She gives Gray another magic that can help him win the battle and vanish the fire on the horses. The Holy Spirit is recognizing me, Gray asked, and Catherine answered, "No, but at least, one angel approved of you." The Archbishop recognized the angel and he knew that she was the guardian angel of the Paladin. This is a war that is not sanctioned by the Holy Spirit. Everyone is shouting for a miracle once again, and the king's army began to freeze. The king ordered them to attack, but the Archbishop stopped him and he suspected the king was under the influence of the dark forces to wage this war. After hearing it, the king was mad and was about to hit the Archbishop, but Gray is on his way to save him. He was puzzled and shouted to the warriors of the kingdom Isaac that the king has been corrupted by darkness. In the name of the Holy Spirit, I call upon all the pious members of the army to end this unjust war, the Archbishop stated. King Harper Beard of Isaac's kingdom, in his youth, was a king known for his bravery. He commanded a large army and defeated the invaders from the kingdom of Alan at an absolute disadvantage. It was the battle that made him famous. After that battle, he became the hero of the kingdom Isaac. Countless young men joined his army and became part of the Knights of Golden Armor in order to follow his martial powers. But, there is an end to the legacy of every hero. He ordered again the armies to put down their weapon, but they are hesitant because of the oath they made with the king. The oath does not include the practice of injustice. Look in front of you, the holy light, Paladin, and the angel. Don't you understand who you are fighting against? It's the Holy Spirit. If you insist on fighting for the sake of the Holy Spirit, I will fight too. The pastor proclaimed. He also revealed that those knights on the battlefield clothed in the holy light, who are fighting bravely underneath their armor, are just children. He shouted that they will fight for the Holy Spirit. All the people were astounded after knowing that the knights with Gray are only children. People shouted for the sake of the Holy Spirit, and the king's army started to surrender as they cannot declare war on the Holy Spirit for the sake of vows. Armies are kneeling and asking for the forgiveness of the Holy Spirit. They all now declared war on the Holy Spirit, and the king was mad. All the armies are staring at him, causing the king to be scared. They bring the king out to the White City and the battle is finally over. The cat hugs Gray for reaching victory, and he told Gray that he was the greatest knight in the whole world. Gray with the children is walking in the aisle going to Iron Berbera and said, "I'm sorry, I came late and didn't protect you well. Please forgive me. You appeared at the perfect time," my knight Iron answered. People were happy after the aim victory with the help of Gray. Late summer of the year 11,266 of the fourth age of the Elven calendar. The year 10,753 of the Holy Human calendar. During the Battle of the White City, which took place in the territory of the Kingdom of Isaac, the knight named Gray appeared for the first time in the history of mankind. He defeated the 100,000-strong army of King Beard VI by himself, a miracle in the military history of mankind. After the battle, King Beard VI was dethroned and a papal verdict awaited him. Some of the nobles of the Duchy of Becker who were in cahoots with the king were also duly sanctioned, with the full support of the Holy Synod. The holy noble heir of the House Becker, Iron Berbera Becker, officially inherited his father's title and became the Grand Duchess of the Duchy of Becker. As for Gray, he received a new title. He became the second Earl in the new Duchy of Becker, besides Earl Gregory. In just a few months, he was promoted from a commoner to an earl by his own merit. As deeds spread to every corner of the continent and he was treated as a role model for knights, he became the ideal of all knights aspired to. In October of the same year, Archbishop Anthony III, who was in his 80s, went to the Holy Synod to report the causes of consequences of the Battle of White City. In November, the Holy Synod officially crowned Grey as a paladin. There are only 5 paladins in the whole continent, and the other 4 are personally trained by the Pope, leaving Grey as the only exception. Nevertheless, even though Grey was enthroned, he was not summoned, which made many people quite puzzled. Meanwhile, a better struggle for the throne was taking place in the Lion capital, which has lost its king. Baird VY had 12 children, and the struggle for the throne pitted the children against each other. However, none of this seems to have much to do with the current White City. Everything has been settled down and they are confident that no one will ever dare to attack the Duchy of Becker because of the Silver Moon Knight and Lady Iron. Since the succession ceremony, people didn't see Iron outside the castle. Porus has spent 5 days and 5 nights in order to count the war damage and appease the families of the deceased. Abbey Robert has spent 7 days and 7 nights dealing with the stagnant trade and diplomatic situation during the war. Grand Duchess Iron is feeling like she was about to ascend to immortality after 9 days and 9 nights of intense activity. Grey has earned Iron's gratitude, and she is hopeful that he won't get into any difficulty. While they are conversing, an army arrived to inform them that the Silver Moon Knight, Grey, has sold the castle to Gregory that Iron gave him and is dispersing gold from the castle tower of White City. They were alarmed when they heard Iron chuckle because they assumed she would become mad. While Grey is dispersing the gold, the cat is scolding him for selling his castle. Lady Iron came and confirmed with Grey if he really sold the castle, and Grey answered yes while trembling. "Do you need money that bad?" Iron asked. Grey explained that he don't need money, but the little knights at many people need it, and he thought that it would be useless for him to keep the castle. Iron was amazed at his reasons, but she requests Grey that she should be the one to take care of the people. Iron decided that she will compensate and reallocate a fief to Grey. Grey was thrilled, so he go and hug Iron, but his armor hit Iron's head. Everyone was concerned, but Iron stated that she was fine. After that, he asked about Grey's plan as paladin and told Grey that it was okay if he wanted to leave in White City to display his skills to the world. Grey said that he don't want to leave. "I am a knight of the lady is my lord, and we have made a vow. I will always follow you," Grey stated, which made Iron be happy, and she apologized to Grey for insulting Grey's character and chivalry. Because of Grey's loyalty, she will also keep her oath and swear, "I will pay for your position and ensure that you will not be wronged in any way." On the other side, Angel Catherine encounters the Holy Spirit. The latter learns that she has assisted a Lich. Angel Catherine said that due to Grey's belief in the Holy Spirit, it would have finally destroyed itself. He is a knight who upholds the code of chivalry and is prepared to give up everything for the sake of his belief. Catherine has taken it upon herself to pledge to become Grey's guardian angel, and she swears in the name of the angelic powers. In December, it snowed heavily in the White City. People who had been busy throughout the year finally got a moment of leisure. They drank warp soup beside the window while admiring a certain paladin who has had fun with snow. Grey received unique treatment from those who he had previously only imagined. He was enjoying the snow when Shelley unexpectedly appeared and offered him for a walk. While they are walking, Shelley asked Grey if he's planning to be part of the Betcher family. The cat sensed that their conversation is getting a little dangerous, so he stops Grey from answering by himself. Grey was puzzled, and the cat told him that he will explain next time. The cat is teaching him what he should reply to every Shelley's question. Grey answered Shelley by saying that he will not join the family but always be a knight of the Betcher family. After hearing it, Shelley confirmed if Grey and Iron has no relationship, and Grey answered yes as to what the cat ordered. "That means I can be your companion, right?" Shelley asked, and Grey said yes, even though the cat did not say what he should answer. Shelley was thrilled after hearing it, while the cat was hysterically annoyed by Grey. A moment ago, Gregory is thinking about Grey, and he never thought that Grey is really a paladin. He asked Shelley if she know what it means, but Shelley doesn't have any idea. Gregory believes that Grey doesn't belong to any family as he doesn't have a last name, so he told Shelley that it would be nice if Grey will become a member of Gregory's family. That's why now, he's inviting Grey for a blind date. He advised Grey that it doesn't have to be formal. He just needs to go shopping and bring something to Shelley. Grey doesn't understand everything, but he's willing to accompany Shelley since his job that Iron gives him is only to patrol the streets of White City and help anyone who needs it. They started to go out on the same day. They go shopping, they go sightseeing, and they both eat. Shelley recommends a berry sundae and Gray is drooling but he doesn't know how to eat it. Suddenly, someone came and called Shelley. She's Eliza Clara Fernandez, Duke Fernandez's eldest daughter. They greeted each other and Eliza teased Shelley that her behavior is like a child running on the street alone. Shelley immediately introduces Gray as her companion. After that, Eliza leave and advised Shelley to be careful with her words and actions because of their matrimonial relationship. The Gregory and Fernandez families have a close relationship, therefore, it is accurate to say that the girls grew up together. They usually play together when they are kids. They were so close until one day, Shelley praised Eliza's dress but Eliza is not happy with it. She's frustrated because she can't be the same as before like a normal kid does. The adult says that only through strict education and etiquette can show the families a burning dignity. Whether the skirts are gorgeous, whether the words are appropriate or not, these are all part of the inner grooming of a girl. From then on, Eliza became an aristocratic girl through and through. She was beautiful, elegant, and charming at the balls like a gorgeous fragile ornament. Shelley knew that Eliza's life is boring. She doesn't want to be like Eliza in the future, to become a prestige symbol for the family and eventually marry a man he never met for the sake of reputation. That kind of person is really not interesting to her. After they go out, Gray took Shelley home and Shelley admired Gray for being an incredible person. She wanted to share her personal problems with Gray but she's afraid that she will only be a bother to him. The next day, there's an urgent report to the Duchy of Becher from the Lion capital. The unrest in the royal capital ended the day before yesterday, and Prince Benedict finally seized the throne. He had issued a royal decree inviting Grand Duchess Becher Earl Gregory and Paladin Gray to participate in his enthronement ceremony. Gray doesn't understand a thing, so the cat told him that there might be something big to happen, and even Gregory doesn't have any idea why he was also invited. Iron ordered her people to get ready to go to the lion's capital. When the night comes, little Jimmy together with Dora is still alive and Dora were alarmed after seeing Gray. "Don't be nervous, it's me," Gray said, but Dora answered, "I'm more nervous because it's you." Jimmy is wondering why Gray visited him and he thought that he will be executed. Gray doesn't want to execute Jimmy but he only came to deliver armor. Jimmy was puzzled and Gray told him that his angel Catherine said that Jimmy's action for assassinating a whole army of humans is a serious violation of the agreement between the Holy Spirit and the Blood Clan and she has all the right to obliterate Jimmy. But Gray pardoned Jimmy using his privilege of a paladin, on the condition that Jimmy must follow up until his sins will be redeemed. Jimmy asked Gray if he was just pity on them and Gray answered, "No, I just think that if a Lich can become a paladin, then a vampire must be eligible too." They are both now part of Silver Moon's order and Gray will bring them to the Lion capital. In January of the 10,754 Holy Human calendars, the new Grand Duchess of Bezer Iron set out on a journey to the Lion capital with Paladin Gray. In the middle of their journey, they were caught in a fog and Robert suggests that they should rest in the village ahead. Gray was out of his mind the whole time and he sensed a little strange about the fog. While they are standing, someone is calling for Gray and the moment he hears it he knew it is Lord Iron Berbera. When Iron is already visible, Gray sensed that Iron's armor has changed. Suddenly, Iron tried to attack him and he wondered what was going on. "I don't need you anymore, so please just disappear," Iron stated and strike an attack on Gray. The cat told him that Iron is trying to execute him so he should assassinate Iron with a counterattack. The cat keeps on saying that the war of the Duchy of Becher is over so Iron doesn't need him anymore and she must have a grudge against Gray. Gray doesn't believe and he knew Lady Iron is not that kind of person. The cat screamed and ordered him to fight back but Gray wanted to keep his vow to Lady Iron. He don't want to hurt her. Iron laughs at him for believing a vow. She then attacks Gray and slashes Gray's head armor. Now, they can see the true face of the paladin under its armor. Iron laughs once again after discovering that the paladin who was personally ordained by the Holy Spirit is undead. It gives her more reason to execute Gray. The troops also attack Gray which made his armor to be damaged and Iron is not satisfied. He then hit Gray's arm and is what she expects. The undead is really more fragile than she thinks. The cat is now mad because Gray doesn't want to fight back. "Since you respect your vows so much, then I command, go to hell," Iron said, since Gray sensed that Iron really wanted to put him to death. He then opens his cloth and said, "Attack me here. As soon as my soul fire goes out, I will disappear completely." The lady was mad after hearing it and according to Gray, it was against the agreement of the Gray Robs to do something to him without permission. Gray cast magic and he knew that this lady in front of him is not real Iron Berbera and he will not allow anyone will insult his lord. Suddenly, someone taps him. It's Lady Iron, and they were shocked after seeing her. According to Iron, Gray just stood still and didn't respond even when Iron called her. Gray didn't tell her exactly what happened, and he just asked about the fog. Iron concludes that Gray has been exhausted, that's why he fall asleep on the horse and had a dream. Gray was still puzzled and he don't know what was going on. In the middle of their marching, there are two demons observing Gray, and they are the reason why Gray was out of his mind. They wanted Gray, the Lich Paladin, to fall and reveal his own identity on his own. And they are also aware that Gray has a guardian angel, which is Angel Catherine. The moment they arrive to the next village, Angel Catherine goes to him to tell some good news and bad news. Gray wanted to hear the good news first, and Catherine said that the Holy Spirit has approved her as Gray's guardian angel. From today onwards, Gray is officially recognized by the Holy Spirit as a paladin. The bad news is, Gray should not reveal his identity. Once he'll be exposed and subjected to the crusade of mankind, the angels will completely disassociate themselves from Gray. If Gray can reveal his identity without being attacked by humans, then everyone will be happy. Catherine thought that Gray will be sad after hearing it. But in the end, Gray has no reaction since he was used to hiding his true identity. When Gray was about to leave, Catherine senses a scent of a demon on Gray. She then concludes that Gray has been afflicted by a demon spirit. Gray claims that the person posing as Iron is a demon and that he is fully aware of this. He also claims that it is not as powerful as he is. Angels, demons, and liches have a non-interference agreement, according to Catherine. Demons refer to it as the Grey Robes Agreement. The Grey Robes Agreement states that demons will not physically harm paladins, but they will manipulate and tempt paladins. Gray is certain that no matter what the temptation is, he will not be defiled by them. Angel Catherine warned him that his next opponent might actually be a human being. As Gray is already aware of the existence of demons, they won't approach him anymore. Instead, it will be a human being. They will pose as humans in order to attack Gray. There is never a shortage of self-sacrificing demon envoys in this world. Unlike Paladin, demon envoys have no magic power. Angel Catherine warned him to be aware of anyone who will approach him with a malevolent purpose because they appear so different from ordinary humans. The Duchy of Betra arrives at the lion capital Kingdom of Isaac, and the crowd is cheering for the paladin, Gray. Others even idolize him and wanted to become like him. The new king of the Kingdom of Isaac, Lord Sharp Benedict, was happy seeing the paladin arrives in his kingdom. Iron and Gray kneeled in front of the king and greeted King Benedict. As of now, Benedict is not the official king yet, but he will be crowned in a few days, and this is the reason why the Majesty has asked the paladin to witness his enthronement ceremony. Iron also informed the Majesty that Gray is also an Earl of the Duchy of Betra aside from being the paladin, and Gray is still his subject and will bow to him. A paladin with an earldom is a bit too low. The Majesty stated, which made Iron annoyed, but what she can do is agree with the king. After welcoming the Duchy of Betra, there is a ball to welcome the kingdom's heroes. Gray was amazed after entering the king's palace. Gray is wondering what the king said about being Earl of the Duchy of Betra, and the cat explained that the king doesn't think it is bad. Instead, he thinks Iron is not qualified to be Gray's lord. Gray disagrees with it because for him, Iron is a good lord to him. The cat sensed that the king's attitude towards Iron is so obvious that one can see it even with closed eyes. After hearing it from the cat, he then concludes that the king is a demon envoy, that's why he's somehow targeting Lady Iron. He was about to beat the king, but Angel Catherine stopped him and reminded him that an envoy is definitely a bad guy. But every bad guy isn't necessarily an envoy. Listen, you are now a paladin, and your actions represent the Holy Order and the Holy Spirit. The angel stated, Benedict is the king, the ruler of this country, and he represents the kingdom of Isaac. Once Gray will rashly make a move against him, everyone will speculate whether it is direct from the Holy Spirit. Once the king will be found innocent, Gray's action would mean that the Holy Spirit has declared war on a sinless nation. That's the way human society is. Angel Catherine added that even if the king is really a demon envoy, Gray should not take direct actions. Just like Gray has his helmet, the demon envoy has the mask of a king. When he took off the mask, he is a demon envoy. When he put on the mask, he is the king. Gray can only sanction him righteously by pulling off the mask of the demon envoy and letting everyone know that he is the demon envoy. After hearing it, Gray understands everything, and his goal is to rip the mask off the king's face. When the night comes, people are gossiping about Iron and the paladin, and they conclude that Gray and Iron are lovers, that's why Gray is working for Iron obediently. At that moment, King Benedict welcomed the arrival of the delegation from the Duchy of Becher and invites the new Grand Duchess of Becher to perform the first dance. Gray was alarmed after seeing Iron with the king and he thought that Iron is leaving him for fun. "You can't always rely on your lady Iron. You must learn to fend for yourself," the cat stated. Since Gray wanted to dance, he looked for his partner, which is Shelley. He goes directly to Shelley and many girls introduce themselves as they wanted to have a dance with Gray. And they get to the point that they are fighting each other. Gray was scared but the cat was happy seeing how popular Gray is. While he was looking at the girls, someone grabs his arm and several wanted to pull him onto the dance floor. Gray was dizzy seeing them and he shouted that he wanted to dance with Shelley Gregory. Shelley was shocked and the crowd was confused about who Shelley is. Other girls recognized Shelley, who came with the delegation of the Duchy of Becher and the daughter of an earl. While Gray is calling Shelley, all girls are staring at her. "Sir Knight, do you have a feud with me?" Shelley stated while she was rushing and pulling Gray to the dance floor. They both do reverse dance while the crowd is staring at them. While they are dancing, the king and Iron are also watching them and Iron was timid of Gray's action. The king noticed that Gray is always wearing his armor, so he was curious if anyone already sees his face. The king laughed and stated that no matter what Gray looks like, girls will be attracted to him. "Don't you think so, Grand Duchess Becher?" the king asked. Iron doesn't understand what he means and the king invited her to talk somewhere else. They go to a room where no one can hear them and the king asks Gray to be his subordinate. He ordered Iron to break her vows with Gray and have him swear his allegiance to the king. Iron told him that this is not something she can decide laterally. And the king forced her to give up Gray. He offered Iron to have a prosperous territory from him, but still, Iron answered the same thing. "Don't be a stubborn girl, Grand Duchess Becher. Don't you want to possess that knight once and for all?" the king proclaimed. Iron doesn't understand what he means and the king thought that she's just pretending to be confused by reasoning about the difference between black and white. According to the king, a knight on a horse with an angel, clothed in holy light, facing an army of 100,000 men alone just to rescue the only girl in his heart is such a romantic story. Iron was really mad at the king but she did not let it out. "You dare to say that your heart has not been moved? Everyone sees you and him as a pair. Yet you're saying that you really don't want to possess him and make him a knight only for you." The king stated, "As the only lord of the house of Becher, Iron cannot marry Gray. And as a paladin recognized by the Holy Synod, Gray can't marry into the Becher family. Otherwise, the reputation of both of them will be tarnished." The king reminded Iron that she can only be the paladin's master and servant. The king educates Iron that after the Battle of White City, the royal prestige hit rock bottom. The kingdom of Alan has begun to move, but many of the royal troops no longer obey the king's order. If the kingdom of Alan invades, Iron is willing to stand by the king, but King Benedict told her that he doesn't need any promise. What he needs is a paladin with direct allegiance to him, especially a paladin who has no roots in this country. If it happens that a paladin will propose to Iron, the paladin will get fame and status. And Iron will get the knight he loves, but the king will get a strong reign. On the other side, Gray and Shelley are done dancing but the girls are still staring at them. Without the king's acquiescence, these reserved noble ladies wouldn't dare to be so blatant. In other words, Shelley is taking the bullet for Sister Iron. Shelley thought that Iron ordered Gray to dance with her, but Gray cleared everything that Shelley is the only one who taught him how to dance and he's also afraid that he will look like a fool by dancing with other people. Lord Gregory is an old fox. He annexed 7 families without bloodshed, and according to the king that the reason why Gregory helped Iron in the Battle of White City was that he saw the connection between Gray and the church. As long as Gregory is alive, it will be difficult for Iron to control the real power of the Duchy of Becher. That is the reason why the king invited him to the Lion capital and the king offered Iron that he can help her control Gregory. Shelley informed Gray to not accept any girl's invitation to dance other than Iron because according to her, this is a test of the king. He is trying to see if he can take away Gray from Iron. Gray has no idea about the king's intention, so Shelley informed him that during the Battle of the White City, the royal family's prestige suffered significantly while the clergy's prestige improved massively. The king would undoubtedly make an effort to entice the papacy in order to stabilize his regime. As a paladin who shone on the Battle of the White City, Gray is now the best symbol of the Holy Lord. The Holy Synod has experienced some degree of success as a result of the religious reformation that the Paladin and the Duchy of Becher spark. They will now focus on the entirety of Isaac's realm. To implement the reformation throughout the kingdom, Paladin is necessary according to the king. What Gray and Shelley talk about is the same as what the king and Iron discussed. The Holy Synod will designate Gray for it. According to Shelley, Gray will undoubtedly be asked to leave Iron and swear allegiance to the king of the Holy Synod who wants to strengthen the role of religion in this nation. Gray doesn't like the king and he was about to tell Shelley that the king is a demon envoy, but the cat stopped him and informed him that he should not involve ordinary people in such dangerous things. Gray was confused if the Holy Spirit really wanted him to leave his Lord Iron Berbera. The Holy Spirit rarely gives specific orders. They prefer believers to think for themselves. But there is no doubt that the Pope is doing this for the Holy Spirit as well, according to Angel Catherine. Gray now believes that the Holy Spirit doesn't want him to break his vow. What is more important now is the demon among them. While Catherine is guiding the Paladin, she's not aware that demons are behind her and just watching her. The next day, Gregory goes to Iron's room and he concludes that Iron hasn't slept for the whole night. Gregory told Iron that 4 days prior, there had been word of an odd army movement in the Allen Kingdom. Duke Downers opposed the king's request to send troops to the border swiftly. This was a piece of news 15 days ago, but it was blocked and did not come to light until 4 days. The royal family's standing has reached an all-time low and the monarch is currently in dire need of assistance. He must be attempting to win the Holy Synod's favor given how closely he has been working with the Church lately. But, the Holy Synod will not get involved in a nation's internal affairs, and Gregory expressed concern that it would target Gray or Iron directly. Gregory's analysis makes sense according to Iron, and she informed Gregory that the king already had a showdown with her. Gregory was aware that the king is trying to steal Gray from Iron, so he immediately looks for Gray. Iron said that the archbishop invited Gray to church service early in the morning. Gregory was annoyed with Iron for comfortably letting Gray go to church alone because he that the church has been in collusion with the king for a long time. Don't worry. It'll be fine. And, he is not alone. Iron said, at the Pierce Cathedral, Shelley and Gray are going to church, and Gray was amazed after seeing the huge church in front of them. Gray is happy that Shelley is also in the church. He was not aware that Iron came to Shelley last night and requested her to accompany Gray to church. Shelley was not happy about it because, for her, it will be another bullet to take to Iron again. While they are outside, the pastor called Gray. Pastor Dean is also here in the Lion capital and he was happy after seeing Gray. Gray give thanks to the pastor for his help to enlighten Gray and teach him to be true about his heart. After hearing it, Shelley realized that Gray follow her advice to talk to the pastor about his confusion. The archbishop is waiting for them outside the church and the archbishop greeted the Paladin and Gray did the same thing as well. The archbishop thought that Shelley is the Grand Duchess Betcher because he invited Iron to the service with Paladin and he expected that Iron will also come. Shelley introduced herself and informed the archbishop that she's Iron's spokesperson. The archbishop's subordinate didn't trust Shelley, but he still let Shelley go inside with them as she believes that Shelley has no bad intentions and is only present as the spokesperson of Lady Iron. Going back to the palace, Gregory was very mad after knowing that Iron pushed Shelley into the limelight. The king wanted to use the emotional card to get her to persuade Gray. And the church meant the same thing. She will not interfere and let Gray choose for himself. According to her, Shelley is a perceptive girl and knows how she should help Gray to deal with the words of those foxes. After explaining, Gregory was still mad and can't accept that Iron pushing his 16-year-old granddaughter Shelley into the fire. Iron was aware that Gregory wants Gray to be a member of the House of Gregory. Since you want such benefits, you must take the corresponding risks, right? Iron said, if Iron will transfer Gray to the king because of her own personal feelings, the matter itself would be a betrayal of Gray and of the oath. When Gray entered the church, he was very surprised by the runes on the wall as he can feel the magic from it. The cathedral of the capital is not just for prayers and worship. It is also in charge of the entire diocese, so there are many clergymen stationed here. Naturally, the standard is superior to other places. While they are observing, Shelley saw a fresco. And the archbishop was alarmed after knowing that Shelley has knowledge about it. Shelley stated that it was a Betzold, a holy man who was executed by a mob 1,000 years ago. A devoted saint. A Betzold promoted a radical kind of religious reformation that worried the aristocracy and the common people of his time. The Holy Synod had no choice but to give up on trying to safeguard him after weighing the circumstances. Even the mention of his name was taboo for a while. It wasn't until many years had passed and the incident had been forgotten that the Holy Synod was able to redeem himself. The Pope included his deeds in the history of the Church as a warning to future generations. This painting was painted by the Pope's order and is authentic. Shelley keeps asking the Archbishop, and the Archbishop was irritated because he sees Shelley deliberately trying to speak in a sarcastic manner. On the other side of the alleyway of Lion Capital, there are two old men talking about the Paladin, and suddenly, they saw something that appeared quickly, but they conclude that it was just an illusion. They did not know that it was an angel. Angel Catherine is trying to find the evil Zora, but she is hiding it, making it difficult for Catherine to find her. The evil communicated with Catherine via telepathy. And as long as Catherine will claim that she can't find the evil will eventually appear. I admit it, I really have no way to trace you. Catherine stated an evil appeared in front of her. She's Vivian the Phantom. Catherine was frightened after seeing her, which made her fall. She also accused Vivian that she was the attacker of Grey and impersonating Lady Iron, but Vivian denied it and told Catherine that she has been transferred to her duty just recently. Catherine was puzzled after hearing it, and she asked Vivian what she wants. Of course, to become the guardian demon of our little Lich, Vivian answered. Catherine was mad after hearing it and she readied herself to attack, but Vivian teased her and said, "Do you want to shatter the truce with the demon realm as the representative of the celestial realm?" Which made Angel Catherine more annoyed. The Holy Book in chapter 46:12 says that the Holy Spirit favors the world. The Holy Spirit sends its most trusted angels to earth to assist the most devout believers and make them clergy. Thus, because of the foolish taste of the world, the holy ones had to condescend to themselves and accommodate the world. Everyone who receives the favor of the holy light has the duty to do whatever it can to convey the love of the Holy Spirit to as many people as it can. Shelley keeps on asking the Archbishop, and Grey sensed a bad atmosphere between them. According to the Church, a paladin should follow the teachings of the Holy Spirit, take care of the mission of the Church, and preach the divine faith as his duty. But Shelley argues with it, and as for her, paladins should uphold the teaching of the Holy Spirit's knighthood, follow the oath of allegiance, and make it their duty to promote the benevolence of the Holy Spirit. Shelley questioned what statement was appropriate for Grey, but he was unable to respond. The cat advised him to seek his guardian angel for clarification, but according to Grey, he has been cut off from Angel Catherine since last night and he doesn't know where Catherine is. The cat ordered him to not answer to avoid offending both sides, so Grey apologized to them and said, "I think I need to go back and think about this question before answering it." Is that okay? Both Shelley and the Archbishop were puzzled. No, I mean, don't you want to play a greater role in our great cause of spreading the faith? The Archbishop asked, but Grey answered that it's something he has to think about. Shelley laughs while the Archbishop still wonders why Grey needs to think about such a question like this. According to Grey, as a paladin, his every word and action represents the Holy Spirit and he must be careful about it. The Archbishop was confused at this point, and since he don't understand what Grey wanted to point out, he just told Grey to go back and consider his words carefully and he will wait for Grey's answer. Because of it, they finally come out and Grey asked why Shelley is arguing with the Archbishop. Shelley reminded him that the Archbishop is beating around the bush. He wants Grey to leave Lady Iron to serve the king. Shelley is complaining about waking up early in the morning to accompany Grey, so Grey offered her that they can go shopping and eat together after they can go back to the White City. After hearing it, Shelley assumes that Grey is proposing a date to her, so he feels pity for Iron. While they are talking outside the church, the Archbishop is observing them and he was curious about Paladin's relationship with Shelley. The pastor told him that Shelley and Grey are always close when they were in White City. He also added that the Grand Duchess of Betra doesn't care about being a master for Grey for the rest of her life, nor care about Grey being with another girl. After hearing it, the Archbishop said that it will be a problem for them. They have a paladin with great prestige and power. But the Holy Synod knows nothing about Grey, and the person close to Grey is also a female Grand Duchess who has a problem with the royal family. If the Pope himself gives the order, it means that they have no control over the paladin that they have nominated. The Archbishop ordered the pastor to find a chance to talk to Grey to convince him. Going back to Shelley and Grey. They said goodbye to each other and Shelley has a feeling of wanting to lock Grey and pet him, or the feeling of guarding someone. She stopped her feeling, and right now, it's enough for her to play the role of the closes girl to Grey and stop the king from taking advantage of the situation. Grey is heading somewhere. When he arrived, he was surprised to see Dora, little Jimmy, and Angel Catherine together with a demon, Vivian. Grey attacks her using a sword, but she was emotionless and asks Catherine if Grey has a fondness for throwing flying sword. "You can get angry and just resign," Catherine answered. Grey carries the cabinet and throws it to Vivian. He was very giggled to fight the demon, but Vivian keeps running away. "Demon, don't run. If you dare," Grey said, which made Vivian stop. Gray struck a punch at Vivian, but he ended up punching Catherine because Vivian dodged his attack. Gray apologizes to Catherine and Catherine ordered them to calm down. Gray was very determined to subdue the demon, but Catherine told him that they can't do it because the celestial realm and the demon world have signed a truce. You can't attack me without breaking the agreement, Vivian stated. Gray wondered why there is an agreement between them and for him. It's better to fight the forces of evil to the end instead of making pacts with them. Vivian is offering herself to be Gray's guardian demon, but Gray refused right away. Gray, don't be so quick to refuse, Catherine said. Vivian has been raised in the demon world and doesn't know the meaning of goodness. She has appeared before Gray, and this is the opportunity given to her by the Holy Spirit and the test given to Gray, according to Vivian. It is not written in the Holy Book that a Lich cannot become a Paladin, but Gray is indeed a Paladin now. No one says that demons can't defect to the light, so she told Gray that there is an opportunity for Gray to convert into a demon. Seems to make some sense, Gray stated. And the cat told him not to believe Demon Vivian because it was a trick. He reminded Gray that he went to the light for faith and Vivian came near the light only to attempt him to fall. Vivian used his magic to control the cat, and she knew that this cat is possessed by ghosts. I should remind you, Kitty, demons have an agreement with angels and witches and demons, but not with ghosts, Vivian said, which made the cat scared and agree with her that a true paladin should convert into demons. Angel Catherine interferes to remind the cat that the angels and ghosts don't have any agreement also. At this time, the cat was unsure of his position and frustrated that he was taking part in such a life or death game when all he wanted was to be a simple, trustworthy cat,